And the temperatures reached 99 degrees in San Antonio today. And tonight, the fans making their way into the AT&T Center. A routine occurrence for the San Antonio Spurs, the defending world champions, who take a 1-0 lead in the best-of-7 Western Conference semifinals against the Dallas Mavericks tonight. And let's take a look at tonight's McDonald's starting lineup. Dirk Nowitzki, who never got in a groove in Game 1, scoring only 2 points in quarter number 4. But Devin Harris is starting in place of Adrian Griffin in a lineup change for Avery Johnson, the coach of the Mavericks. For the San Antonio Spurs, Tim Duncan dominating with 31 points in game number 1. And Tony Parker, the problem, a left quad contusion. Questionable as to whether he would play. It's been wrapped up. Cheryl Miller will have more on it and will be in this starting lineup. And so welcome Reggie Miller and Dick Stockton with you for the important Game 2. And make no mistake about it, this is a critical game for the Mavericks. You could say they lose and they just held serve the Spurs. But winning 4-5 against San Antonio is going to be an incredibly tall order. But the change for Devin Harris, what's that all about, Reggie?
Speed. I think Avery Johnson wants to speed up the game, try to get some early opportunities, fast break points. I think the key to the game, the Mavericks got to have 30-point quarters. 1, possibly 2. If they can get 30-point quarters, that will help them out tremendously.
And there is Tim Duncan. And there is Devin Harris, who's getting the start. Started 4 games in the regular season and was out with a thigh injury, missing 19 of the last 30 games. So this was a squad, despite winning 60 games during the regular season, had numerous lineup changes and actually started their regulars only 12 times. But there's Devin Harris, who played 15 minutes in game number 1 and scored 3 points. And there is Tony Parker, who has had all kinds of thigh and hip injuries and had tired legs in game number 1, as did his backcourt partner Manu Ginobili, who admitted that he had tired legs. And those two, not as big a factor on offense as they have been, but Tim Duncan led the way with his 31.
Well, you have speed in the backcourt now with Jason Terry and Devin Harris. And more importantly, I think now Devin Harris can pick up Tony Parker full and put some full court pressure on him to try to wear him down. When you have leg injuries like that through the course of a 48-minute game, it kind of wears you down.
Steve Javie, Eddie F. Rush, and David Jones are officials underway, and the tip controlled by the Spurs, winning 87-85. Here is Duncan, and fouled on the first play of the game. So the Spurs winning by 2 in a game that Dirk Nowitzki said we should have won that game. He picks up the first foul minutes or seconds into the contest.
Well, he got switched off. There was a cross screen between the 2 bigs right there, and Job and Nowitzki switch and got the early foul on Dirk.
And Duncan misses the free throw from the line. The Spurs were 73% from the line. Not bad at all in game number 1. They were 28th in the league in free throw shooting during the season. Avery Johnson, who said he did not like his offense, and he said the problem was not what to do against Duncan and the others, but scoring points, as you point out.
Well, and that's why you try to speed up the game as much as possible. You bring in your talented young guard in Devin Harris to try to get some easy fast break opportunities.
Nowitzki hitting his first shot. Dirk Nowitzki only 8 of 20 and missing 8 of 11 in the second half.
Well, it's going to be curious to see how many times he touches the basketball in his 4 sweet spots. Right there, that was one of his sweet spots. Curious to see how Bruce Bowen is going to defend him when he gets it into those areas.
And Harris guarding Parker. Duncan setting the screen, the pass off his hands. And on the turnover, here comes Jason Terry, picked up by Robert Horry on the switch.
And these are the opportunities that the Mavs need to capitalize on. Fast break opportunities off turnovers.
Josh Howard tips it in. So Josh Howard with the tip in. Howard, coming off a 17-point effort, has played very well against the Spurs throughout the season.
Yeah, and he had 12 of those in the first quarter. Got off to a really good start. And I think the Mavs kind of went away from him the rest of the 3 quarters.
Terry guarding Ginobili, and now trapped for the moment. Nowitzki picking up Ginobili on the drive, knocked away. And here come the Mavericks with a 3-on-1. Only Bowen is back, and Howard puts it through. So a quick start by the Dallas Mavericks as they take a 6-1 lead And Greg Popovich wants to talk it over quickly.
And Avery Johnson couldn't have scripted this any better. He inserts Devin Harris into the lineup to try to create speed opportunities, fast break opportunities, and that's exactly what the Mavs have delivered.
And Greg Popovich arguing with Steve Javie and getting a technical foul. 6-1 the score.
The 2006 NBA Playoffs on TNT. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines, official airline of the NBA. By the new 2007 Hyundai Sonata. It's time to rethink everything. By Charles Schwab. Get premium service without the premium price. Talk to Chuck, Charles Schwab. And by T-Mobile, official partner of the NBA Playoffs.
And just the start of things here in San Antonio with the Mavericks leading the Spurs 6-1. It's now time for the Gatorade Around the Cooler report. So let's join Cheryl Miller.
Thanks a lot, Dick and Reggie. Well, Reggie, as you well know, trying to stay healthy this time of the year as a player is never healthy, never really easy. And add Tony Parker to that list. Dick, as you mentioned, he has a left quad contusion that he suffered in Game 1. Well, he also told me before the game that he is bothered by a right thigh strain, and he's also a strained right hip. Tonight, he'll be wearing compression tights that are heavily padded to protect those areas. He says he's operating around 80%. He said his two main concerns tonight is, number one, once he comes out the game, is his legs tightening up, and number two, Dick and Reggie, said if he's hit in that left quad, he's not sure he'll be able to get up, guys.
All right, Cheryl, and of course the Spurs have been fighting injuries to Duncan and Ginobili and Parker, annoying injuries during the course of the year. Dirk Nowitzki making the free throw, the technical foul called against Greg Popovich, arguing over what he thought was a foul when Ginobili drove to the basket. On the turnover, the third of the game for the Spurs. Unusual for them in the first 2 minutes of the game.
And just to allude on what Cheryl said, especially playoff time, first of all, he's definitely going to get hit tonight because everyone knows where his injury's at. I don't care how much padding you wear. Jason Terry and Devin Harris definitely know he has leg problems, so he's going to get hit.
And Harris going up, the ball blocked away, last touch by the Spurs. Following the kick ball moments ago. And there is Steve Javie talking things over with David Jones. And David Jones came in. He saw the play better. He said it was last touched by the Mavericks. Good call. They got it right.
And that's good officiating right there. When you huddle together, they're a team as well. Definitely Devin Harris got in there and went off him. And referees huddle up. Good decision.
And the foul. Parker going up. And the foul called against Jop. Jop picked up early fouls thanks to Tim Duncan in game number 1. Ended up with 5 fouls. In fact, the three Dallas centers had more fouls than points scored thanks to Tim Duncan's aggressiveness.
Well, Ghana's in there to play defense, and it doesn't matter if he gets in foul trouble because you have really the real starting center coming in Eric Dampier.
And another foul, this one called on Terry. Here was the story. Benga had to be called upon with Jop and Dampier getting into early foul trouble.
Well, I mean, that's the luxury Avery Johnson has. You have a three-headed monster, and DJ Benga doesn't play a lot of minutes, but when needed, when the other two get in foul trouble, he can come in and play spots minutes, what he did. But you got to give credit to Tim Duncan. He put them all in foul trouble by being aggressive, getting into their chest.
Here's the double team on Duncan, and Duncan scores. That was the first field goal attempt by the Spurs, and they made it count, and the Mavericks leading by 4.
And that is so tough to defend. Anytime you can neutralize a shot blocker by creating havoc, by getting into their body, that's what Tim Duncan does so well.
Howard driving in, and the ball off the rim and on the miss. And here come the Spurs. They'll take advantage. They are not a half-court team. They like to push it up with the likes of Ginobili and Parker. Here is Duncan, single coverage, and now doubled up. Extra pass to Bowen in the corner, hits the three. It was Bruce Bowen who hit the big three-pointer that really put the Spurs in a position to win the game, and of course the great defensive stop at the end. And driving in for the layup is Harris. So it's 9-6 in favor of the Mavericks. Game 2 of the best of 7 before the scene shifts to Dallas for games 3 and 4. Horry starting and has been the starting forward or center since game 5 of the Sacramento series. And the shot by Duncan doesn't go.
And a lot of incidental contact right there by Josh Howard. He easily could have been called for a foul.
Howard shot off the rim, anticipates it well, gets his own rebound. Here is Terry against Duncan, and Jop tips it in on the follow. So the Mavericks up by 5. Nearly 4 minutes gone by in the opening quarter.
And when Tim Duncan comes over to challenge the shot, someone has to get his man off the boards, being Ghana Jop right there as Avery Johnson picks up a technical foul.
Right, so Avery Johnson says, look, I used to play for Pop. Popovich picks up a technical, why can't I? So the technical foul, one apiece, and there you see the sly smile on the face of Greg Popovich as Manu Ginobili makes good on the technical free throw.
And these two coaches really respect one another. Obviously, Avery having the chance to be taught under Coach Greg Popovich. And, you know, it's a tight whistle. It's a playoff game. These officials are letting everyone know that they're in control, which is great. You know, they're not going to take a lot of lip tonight.
They called a couple of fouls on the Mavericks away from the ball just a few moments ago, so they're calling this one tight, make no mistake. Here is Ginobili, Duncan against Jop, knocked away by Harris, and the reach-in foul. Seal gets called for it, but another foul called against the Mavericks, and if it's on Jop, that'll be 2. And it is.
Yeah, Ghana Jop got his hand caught in the cookie jar right there, trying to get his hands on the ball when Duncan put the ball on the floor. Now you bring in Eric Dampier, who really is, in their eyes, their starting center, has accepted his role of coming off the bench.
Dampier got into foul trouble himself, scored 2 points, but had 10 rebounds and 3 offensive rebounds.
But 5 big blocks.
And the loose ball, 4 on the shot clock. Duncan against Dampier, one-hands it and banks it in. How many years was that a familiar play for Duncan? Usually on the other side of the court, though.
Right, but it's still a bank shot, and that is his favorite shot. We talk about all sweet spots. Dirk Nowitzki has 4 of them. Tim Duncan has 2 of them. And even Bruce Bowen has 2 of them. The easy deep threes from the corners. So.
And Howard going up with it, and it's knocked away, and a foul is called. So in the early start, the Mavericks have taken 7 more shots than the Spurs.
Well, you're going to be hearing this a lot tonight. Where do players where are they in their comfort zone? And Tim Duncan definitely facing for that 12 to 15-foot bank shot. That is his comfort zone. That is his sweet spot.
Manu Ginobili picking up the foul, and Brent Barry will come in for Ginobili as Ginobili goes out with 1 point. And here is Josh Howard.
Yeah, Dick, I really thought the Mavs kind of went away from him in quarters 2, 3, and 4 of game 1. I wish they kind of would have kept him offensively in the game. I thought he had a brilliant first quarter, but you know, they kind of shied away from him the rest of the way.
They did. Only 3 points in the second half for Josh Howard, and shot 5 of 10. And the Spurs turn it over again. So 4 turnovers by the Spurs in the first quarter, and we're not even halfway through.
And that's twice that they've tried to go back door and they've read it wrong. The 2 big men, Tim Duncan and Robert Horry.
4-point lead for Dallas. The 3-point attempt by Howard and the rebound by Duncan. Spurs this year had a record of 34-7 at home, tied with the Mavericks for the 2nd best home record in the league, behind the Detroit Pistons.
And everyone's talking about that Dallas somewhat got slighted because they had the 2nd best record and they felt that they should have been the number 2 seed, but because of the new ruling, and you see right here Eric Dampier trying to be physical, and that's what you kind of got to do. You got to kind of body Tim Duncan. You kind of try to front 3-quarter, and now that they're in the bonus early because of, you know, the work of Tim Duncan, this is a bonus that the Spurs have by going to the line with 6:33 left in the first quarter. Every foul from him here on out, the Spurs are shooting free throws.
And the question is, Reggie, can they take advantage of it? And Duncan misses his 2nd free throw. Nazi Muhammad at the scorer's table, and it looks like he'll be coming in for Tim Duncan at the next dead ball.
Well, I think the big knock, as you look at Tim Duncan's numbers in game 1, definitely understood that Manu Ginobili had tired legs. Tony Parker had that quad injury, stepped it up offensively. But if you have an Achilles heel for the Spurs, it would have to be their free throw shooting. 28th in the league. Come close games, you got to be able to make your free throws down the stretch.
Jerry Stackhouse, who was the high scorer for the Mavericks. A sensational offensive game with 24 points. Has come in the game, Dirk Nowitzki hitting his second from the perimeter. And Nowitzki now with 5 points. In the games that the Mavericks beat the Spurs, Nowitzki averaged 32 points. He scored 23 and 14 in the 2 losses. There's Parker driving in for the layup. So Parker, who likes to go down the lane, went baseline that time and cutting the deficit to 3. Under 6 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Dick Stockton, Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller with you here on TNT. Here's Howard against Horry, and the basket counts in the foul. Blocking foul against Robert Horry.
And Robert Horry cannot guard Josh Howard out on the perimeter. That's the advantage for the Mavericks right there. Josh has to continue to be aggressive. Right here, Robert Horry overcheats the play right there, and Josh recognized that and just takes a beehive straight line to the hoop, feels the contact, and puts the ball up and gets the and one. But that's definitely an advantage for the Mavericks if you got Robert Horry guarding Josh Howard out on the perimeter.
So Nazr Mohammed come in for Tim Duncan, who goes out with 6 points, hitting 2 of 3 from the field. And Howard with a 3-point play has 9 points, go along with 3 offensive rebounds. A very aggressive start, which is exactly what Avery Johnson wants.
Well, you want to speed up the tempo. You need 30-point quarters against the Spurs.
Parker from outside doesn't go, and coming out of the loose ball is Josh Howard. So he has been the key man for the Mavericks early on. Almost a bad pass, and it was a bad pass to Stackhouse as it's picked up by the Spurs. In the corner, Bruce Bowen. Bank shot doesn't go. Spurs get back defensively. Howard into the corner. Here's Terry for 3. Rebound by Barry. Quick pass to Parker. Dampier is back, and Parker won't challenge him.
Good looks for the Mavs. This is exactly what you want. This is the kind of tempo that you want.
Josh Howard very nearly got the ball away from Brent Barry. He has been quick, aggressively so in the start. Here is Parker missing the shot. So Parker's gotten a couple of good looks here, but unable to score. Here's Terry going strong to the hoop and gets the basket. No question that not only the speed, but aggressiveness to go to the rim. Parker at the other side. Sensational basket by Tony Parker as he ends up on the floor.
And look how quick the Mavs get the ball out the basket and up the floor.
Nowitzki misses a 3, and only white jerseys underneath to bring it up. So a fevered pace here at the start with nearly 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Here's Parker with the runner out of bounds, and its last touch looked like it was off the Mavs, but it'll be Dallas ball.
Well, Tony Parker showing no ill effects from that quad injury right there, taking the ball straight to Dirk Nowitzki's chest. Dirk should be very fortunate he didn't pick up his second foul right there.
So Tony Parker has taken the last 5 shots by the Spurs. 6-point lead for the Mavericks. Stackhouse defended by Brent Barry. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And they're going to call the foul. Let's see if Bruce Bowen got in the way of Dirk Nowitzki.
And he shoved him a little bit. He wasn't quite sure if he was going to post up. He was coming up to set a screen. He kind of got the hip action for the foul.
Bowen, by the way, we talk about how sensational he was down the stretch with the 3-point shot and the great defense on Nowitzki. He did pick up 2 early fouls and had to come out. Here is a great pass from Dampier to Howard, and another field goal. So great ball movement there by the Mavericks. Howard has 11 points and a chance to open up a 9-point lead.
Yeah, we spoke with Avery Johnson, and he talked about ball movement was non-existent in game 1, and right here they are looking for one another right here. Quick hitting sets to get to the hoop and put pressure on the Spurs defense.
Nazr Mohammed with the personal foul, and you pointed out, well, 8 assists, not much, missed free throw, and they're going to call the foul. Oh, no, it'll be a discontinued. Over and back. Discontinued on the dribble. You pointed out only 8 assists, which was a franchise low postseason total. And Avery Johnson said, look, you know, we're not an assist team, but we are a ball movement team. We didn't finish enough on the ball movement.
Well, I mean, 8 assists is not going to cut it. And when your point guard, Jason Terry, only has 1 assist, those are bad signs. And you only lose the game by 2 points, Dick.
Brent Barry missing in the paint. Into the corner, Stackhouse for three. Jerry Stackhouse hitting a three with under 3.5 minutes remaining. He hit one of 2 3-pointers for the Mavericks in game number 1. And this is Dallas's biggest lead thus far in the series.
I'm telling you, playoff basketball is always a game of adjustments. From game 1 to game 2, the Mavs wanted to speed up the game. Avery Johnson's been looking at a bunch of tape. Where can we beat the Spurs at? And it's getting up and down the court.
Was the lineup changed? That wasn't the sole reason they showed more speed or aggressiveness.
Well, I mean, it helps. They needed to get back to the old Dallas Mavericks that ran up and down, took quick threes, opportunistic threes, and I think that has helped them out. Jerry Stackhouse coming off the bench early for Avery Johnson, getting into the game. Devin Harris dogging Tony Parker early. That has created the 11-point advantage for the Mavs.
Jerry Stackhouse, who was a starter most of the year, missed the first 26 games of the season with a sore knee, had groin injuries last year, but accepted his role, as did Eric Dampier, when they went to more of a defensive posture in the starting lineup. But now they say they can't forget about their offense.
Well, and it's fast breaks points that is really doing in the Spurs. Seven fast break points for the Mavs. Doing a good job of getting some early opportunities. Jason Terry's recognizing when they can create the numbers. Avery Johnson, like I said, when you look at the game film from game 1 to now, they definitely sped up the game in the favor of Dallas.
Dirk Nowitzki sitting down. He has scored 5 points and replaced by Marquise Daniels. Avery Johnson looking to get Daniels more playing time in this game number 2. Lead is 11. And the feed inside to Duncan from Barry. Duncan now has 8 points to lead the Spurs.
Great look, high-low from Barry down to Tim Duncan. Good steal by Tim Duncan.
Terry challenging Duncan, got a hand on it and knocked it out of bounds. So still Dallas's ball, and Manu Ginobili returns to the lineup, replacing Bruce Bowen.
And it's funny, when Dirk Nowitzki goes out, then Bruce Bowen gets his rest. He has to save all his energy and fouls when Dirk's on the floor.
Here is Stackhouse. In and out, the offensive rebound by Dampier.
They're letting them play. They're letting them play, Dick.
They didn't early, but they are now. Here is Parker inside with a teardrop. Tony Parker has 6 points. Michael Finley has checked in to the lineup for the Spurs, the former Dallas Maverick, and now Avery Johnson wants to talk it over. So an 11-point lead has been cut to 7 with 2:40 remaining in the first quarter of game 2.
We'd like the pace a little higher than they do, but still, I think that's the pace last game where we could have won. We should have won. We had plenty of opportunities, plenty of chances down the stretch to tie it or even go up. So, you know, it's going to be a long series, I hope, and it should be a lot of fun.
And Dirk said that we can really play either way, the half-court game or up and down. We have a lot of athletes who in the open court can make some plays. He said during the regular season we won 60 games, and a couple of those wins were in the 70s, so we're capable of grinding out games. But Reggie, as you mentioned, this pace is definitely suitable for Dallas.
Well, they've shown all year that they can play both ways, but in this particular series, Cheryl, they are going to have to fast break and get easy opportunities, because that they will fall into San Antonio's hands if they try to play a half-court game.
You know, guys, everyone's been talking about how they've improved their defense. If everyone says defense, defense, this is a team that scored 99 a game during the regular season, held to 85 in game 1. That's well below what they want to score. Ginobili with Duncan, Parker, Brent Barry, and Michael Finley. Duncan the leading scorer with 8 points for the Spurs. Parker at the baseline, and the basket would have counted had it gone, and Duncan fouled once again.
And I like how Tony Parker put that pass where only Tim Duncan could receive it. A nice little bounce pass, knee-high level, and let Tim finish the rest right there.
Daniels committing the foul. And here is Tim Duncan again on the free throw line. 2 of 4 thus far for Tim Duncan. Coming up on ESPN on Friday, Miami, New Jersey, Game 3, followed by Phoenix and the Clippers. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern Time. Duncan with the free throws has 10 points. Under 2 minutes remaining. Finley is on Nowitzki, giving up a lot of size. Nowitzki tries to take advantage of it, misses a shot, and here come the Spurs. They were down by as many as 11, but they have scored the last 6 points. Parker going up, deflected inside by Dampier.
Nice block there by Eric Dampier. Way to control the lane in the paint.
And as you mentioned, 5 blocks in the last game, a career playoff high for Eric.
You know, I like the matchup with with Finley on Dirk. Dirk has to be aggressive. When you ain't got Bruce Bowen on you, when you see anyone else other than Bruce Bowen on you, you've got to be aggressive offensively.
Here is the clear out with Duncan guarded by Dampier. Ginobili misses the layup. He had Nowitzki guarding him. So as we approach a minute remaining, here's Devin Harris starting tonight's game for Adrian Griffin. Nowitzki tries to force the pass inside to Dampier. Duncan knocked it away, and a foul is called against the Mavericks.
Eric Dampier right there.
And that'll be his second.
Grabbing Tim Duncan's arm on the steal.
So Dampier picking up 2 fouls on the forced pass.
Well, it's funny because I said that Dallas needs to have 30-point quarters. They've been stuck on 25 for about 4 minutes here with an opportunity to get to 30. They've had great looks and great shots, but come up with turnovers and silly fouls.
Dirk Nowitzki leaving the game for the second time with 5, replaced by Josh Howard, who's the high scorer in the game with 11, matched by Duncan's 11-point. And there is Will Sevening, the athletic trainer, working on Tony Parker.
Well, let's see how long he actually stays out of the game with that thigh injury. Those things tend to cramp up and get sore the longer you're out. So let's see how long that pop keeps him on the bench.
And Cheryl Miller reporting that they're keeping heat pads on him. Meanwhile, Sagana Diop, who has 2 fouls himself, has come into play center. And Nick Van Exel making his first appearance for the Spurs. An 8-0 run by San Antonio with under a minute to go in the first quarter.
San Antonio has gone small with Tim Duncan playing center.
Here is Daniels, double team, tough shot by Daniels off the front rim and taken down by Duncan finally. Very difficult shot against a stifling defense going away from the rim. Here's Ginobili. 3-point attempt doesn't go, and now pushing it up is Howard. Spurs get back defensively.
Yeah, but Ginobili was going for the 2-for-1 opportunity right there, so just get a shot up.
And Barry fouls Stackhouse, and that will be the 15th foul against the Spurs. And Jerry Stackhouse will shoot 2.
Well, for the most part, as Greg Popovich looks on in a little bit of disarray, this is what the quarter that the Mavericks wanted. They wanted to get out. They wanted to establish a tempo. They did that by early fast break points. They wanted to establish an outside game, hitting the outside shots. Now, can they sustain this over a 48-minute course game? That remains to be seen.
Foul shooting was a major problem as Tony Parker returns, replacing Van Exel. In game number 1, you're looking at a Dallas Maverick team that were shooting 86% in the first round of the playoffs, and 1 out of 2 for Stackhouse. They missed 9 free throws, and that played a big role in them not winning that close game.
Well, Dick, we covered them in round 1 against Memphis, and it didn't seem like they couldn't miss from the free throw line. So it's very uncharacteristic for a Mavericks and Avery Johnson-led team to miss so many free throws in crucial situations.
Final seconds of the first quarter. Parker finding Ginobili. Ginobili for 3, and the rebound. Final seconds, and that'll do it, but you made a great point. The Mavericks were in position to get 30 points. They were up 25-14, but in the last 4 minutes scored only 1 point. They still have the lead, but not what they want as far as offensive production down the stretch. So at the end of the first quarter here in game 2, the Mavericks lead the Spurs 26-22. And welcome back to San Antonio. Dick Stockton, Reggie Miller, and Cheryl Miller. Start of the second quarter. The Mavericks, who missed their last 8 shots of the opening quarter, still lead by a score of 26-22.
Well, you wonder why Game 2 is so important for the Spurs. You have 2 days off until you play Game 3 on Saturday. Popovich is really going to rest his guys, especially the ones that are banged up. Ginobili, Parker, and for the Mavericks, you cannot lose this game. If you go back to Dallas down 0-2, you're asking yourselves to beat the world champs 4 out of 5 times, which is highly unlikely.
And that's why Game 1 was really a big opportunity for Dallas, because they had 5 days to rest, only 36 hours. Greg Popovich said he used that disadvantage for the early start to get his team going. He says, you know, we had a bunker mentality. He says, look, we have home court advantage, 163 games, and looking what they're asking us to do.
Look what the league does to us. Right. They put us on the early game, so he loves that bunker mentality. He just doesn't want to let down in Game 2 from that.
And Josh Howard picking up where he left off at the opening stanza, now with 13 points. You saw the shooting is down, which could be a credit to the defenses, as the Spurs shooting 41% to only 37 for Dallas. 6-point lead for the Mavericks. Michael Finley with Nick Van Exel, the 2 new faces on the Spurs this year, both former Mavericks. And here is Duncan going to get it. Jop will pick up his 3rd. So once again, Duncan getting the centers in foul trouble early.
And I'm telling you, Tim Duncan can get where he wants and whatever he wants, because he has the Maverick centers turning left and right. All he has to do is a simple duck in right there, an up and under move right here. Jop is caught in between, coming over on the hand for his 3rd foul.
And what is significant tonight for Tim Duncan, going to the line for his 9th and 10th attempts. He is 7 for 9 right now. And a chance to cut the Dallas lead to 4.
Well, you talk about being their Achilles heel is their free throw percentage. Also, they're 29th in the league in free throw attempts, so they really don't go to the line that much. But tonight, Tim Duncan doing a good job of getting his team in the bonus and getting to the free throw line. 11 attempts already.
Jop going out with the 3rd foul, and Dampier, who has 2 himself, coming into the game. And despite the fact that they were so low in free throw shooting in the regular year, there were very few games that free throw shooting really undid them at the end. They seemed to make them when they needed it toward the end of the game.
And the right people on the line at the time. Ginobili, Parker, you know, even Tim Duncan made free throws when they had to, but they seemed to miss it early in the game. But when the game is on the line, they seem to make them.
He's hit his last 7. So you're right about that. Stackhouse working it against Ginobili, and Jerry Stackhouse now with 6 points in the game. 6-point lead. Van Exel along with Finley, Duncan, Ginobili, and Robert Horry for the Spurs. Harris, Stackhouse, Dampier, Howard, and Marquise Daniels for Dallas. Horry guarded by Stackhouse, and a steal by Howard. Howard with the runner, gets his own rebound.
I like the decision there by Marquise Daniels. He easily could have drove it back in there and forced another shot, but let's run some clock. We have shooters and scorers out there. Take the ball to the basket.
Harris does exactly that. So Devin Harris, as Dirk Nowitzki serves as cheerleader, and Greg Popovich wants to talk it over, as the Mavericks, who were up by 11 in the first quarter, now have sped to an 8-point lead in the first 2 minutes of the second period.
Well, he adds speed to your lineup. He's not going to hit outside shots, but this is one thing he can do, is take the ball to the basket.
It starts at the crime scene.
There was someone else in that warehouse.
It ends with Deputy Chief Brenda Johnson.
You tell me the truth about what happened.
Kira Sedgwick returns as the closer. June 12th, the new season begins, only on TNT.
The early spark for the Mavericks, Josh Howard with 13 points, 7 rebounds, 4 off the offensive glass.
And they need to keep him more involved offensively. We all know what he can do in the open court. But when he takes the ball off the dribble like this and create contact and take his team to the free throw line, it plays dividends for the Mavs. You know, he had 12 first quarter points in yesterday's game, and they kind of went away from him. They need to keep him involved, and he needs to keep himself involved and be aggressive offensively.
Nearly 2 minutes elapsed in the second quarter. The lead is 8 after the Spurs timeout. Nick Van Exel spent a year and a half with the Mavericks. And here is Daniels, called for the foul on the Ginobili drive. That's the second foul for Marquise Daniels.
And it's funny because Nick Van Exel played the role of Jerry Stackhouse for this year's Dallas Mavericks team. Hit so many big shots deep in the playoffs for the Magic. Was their assassin off the bench, as he liked to call himself.
And wanted to play with the Spurs to see if he can get a championship ring before his career ends. Here is Finley, wants to do the same thing. Michael Finley, who said he's not emotional about playing the Dallas Mavericks. He says that we went through that in the first 2 regular season games.
Yeah, if anyone wants to be Dallas, though, it's Michael Finley. He's part of the amnesty clause was waived by Mark Cuban.
3-pointer by Stackhouse, his second. So I guess there is a little bit of payback he wants.
You want to beat your former team. And that was a great veteran move that Michael Finley did coming off that screen. He froze Josh Howard and then took one dribble into the lane for the jump hook.
9-point lead now for the Mavericks. And there's Ginobili faking and not going for it. There was Daniels. Here's the runner by Manu Ginobili. So Manu Ginobili, who's had all sorts of ailments, missed 17 games this year, hitting his first field goal with 3 minutes gone here in the second quarter.
And Eric Dampier has to show higher on that pick and roll. He can't wait around in the paint.
Howard driving in the lane with a runner himself. Again battling for the offensive rebound, and Robert Horry committing the foul.
And Josh Howard should be lucky on that one because he had the rebound, or I should say Eric Dampier had the rebound, and he knocked it out of his hands right there. Josh Howard taking the ball in the lane right here. And look, Dam has the rebound, and Josh comes out of nowhere, but Robert Horry kind of using his behind to shove him out of bounds.
Second foul against Robert Horry. And Dirk Nowitzki coming back in the game. Manu Ginobili replaced by Bruce Bowen. So Nowitzki has scored just 5 points in 11 minutes of action, but the Mavericks have the lead. Daniels against Duncan, and will go to the line to shoot 2. And let's see if another technical has been called, and Steve Javie has called a technical foul.
I think it's on Nick.
Duncan called for the personal foul. And it's on Van Exel. Absolutely right.
Right here, Marquise Daniels. And I think Avery Johnson has said in the film section, look, I don't care if it's Jason Terry, Devin Harris, Marquise Daniels. Whenever you come off that high pick and roll, attack Tim Duncan or attack who's ever in the post. Take it to their chest strong as Nick Van Exel continues to kind of jabber at Steve Javie.
Dirk Nowitzki hitting the technical free throw, and now Marquise Daniels going to the line for 2. So we've already had 3 technicals in this game, both coaches. And now Nick Van Exel. So here's Daniels, who had to sit out the 4th game against the Memphis Grizzlies because of hamstring problems, and that's the second time he's been bothered actually by both hamstrings during the year.
Well, when we spoke with Coach Avery Johnson, we knew they were going to make some kind of adjustment, whether it be Marquise Daniels into the starting lineup. It turned out to be Devin Harris. But Marquise Daniels needs also to be aggressive offensively because he's one of those players that can put pressure on you at both ends of the court.
Well, the Mavericks have so far solved their free throw shooting woes. They're 8 of 9 from the line and leading by 10, and the ball knocked away last touched by Josh Howard with 8 on the shot clock.
And this is no slight to Adrian Griffin, but this is a different type of series. You need offense in this series. Adrian Griffin brings toughness, defense, rebounding, loose balls. But in this series, you need to run and you need your best athletes out there.
So you don't want a grueling kind of matchup, which is what you get with Griffin. And here is Duncan against Nowitzki. Couple of fakes, puts it in. Nowitzki trying to avoid his second foul, but Tim Duncan has 16 points. In game 1, had 20 of the first 40 points scored by the Spurs.
And that is what they call 1 7-footer, putting another 7-footer in the hoop. That's exactly what he did to Dirk Nowitzki.
Howard missing the layup as he drove down the middle. So the Spurs making a run. And Van Exel trying to draw the foul. Takes the 3. No foul there on the Mavericks. crowd not happy with that non-call.
Back out. Let him go one-on-one with Nick Van Exel.
And Nowitzki nearly walked on that one. And a 10 on the shot clock.
He's in his sweet spot.
And we'll have a Spurs foul, and it looked like Michael Finley got hit in the face, and they're going to call Finley with the foul.
And he's like, wait a minute, I'm the one that got hit in the nose here, and you're calling a foul on me?
How do you figure, Reggie?
Who said this wasn't a contact sport? But look, Avery Johnson has to be happy with this tempo.
Without question.
He's throwing someone out of here. He's just thrown Nick Van Exel out of here. Double technical. He's gone.
So Nick Van Exel still with some words for Steve Javi. He is the backup point guard for Tony Parker. So that means that Beno Udrih, the second-year guard from Slovenia, will be the backup now the rest of the game for Tony Parker. Meanwhile, Dirk Nowitzki on the free throw line, hitting the technical.
Look, there's 3 officials in this league you absolutely do not want to talk back to. Steve Javi, Joey Crawford, and Jess Kersey. Those 3 officials, because they had Dick Vivetta, I should say, they have the longevity. They've seen so many playoff games. There's no excuse for that.
Stackhouse going up, foul. And I have not seen this crowd react this way, standing up and shouting at the officials. Foul is on Tim Duncan, his second. Spurs can't understand it.
Do you think the comments that Avery Johnson talked about the bear hugging and that had some influence?
Which was kind of a weird comment because, why did Bruce Bowen do such a good job on Dirk Nowitzki? He said, well, it was called the bear hug defense, and today he kind of softened that comment, saying it was more about our offense, which I'm not sure exactly what that means, and then credited Bruce Bowen with outstanding defense. But this is what he said after Sunday's game 1.
Yeah, it's not like it's bear hug defense and that he was going to try to teach Dirk in practice what bear hug meant, and then for him to change tunes and say he was talking about his offense, I think he was kind of softening his stance. But so far it's worked. I don't know if it's been had any influence on the officials, but they're getting the call.
Parker with another acrobatic shot. Tony Parker with some sensational layups inside and cutting the lead to 8. Parker 50% from the field, has 8 points. Here is Josh Howard for 3, and he's got it. Josh Howard with 16 points, hitting the 3rd three-pointer of the game for the Mavericks. They only had 2 in the opening contest.
And I said that's the one thing that he's improved vastly this year is his outside shot.
And Parker driving in, and the Mavericks foul will be their 3rd team foul. So the Mavericks have matched their biggest lead of the game, up by 11.
And right here, here's Tony Parker getting into lane, knifing his way past 2 defenders, kissing it off the glass. And like I said, if he can hit this consistently, he is such a triple threat type of player.
Jason Terry committed the foul, and now they're going to call Duncan with the offensive foul, his 3rd. So Tim Duncan called for the foul and appealing to Steve Javi.
And he's saying he cleared out on the spin move and the shot right there. Here's the shot. And it looked like Josh Howard was outside the charge line. And that's what you call giving up your body. 7-footer running over a small forward. Tim Duncan picks up his 3rd foul. Let's see what the Spurs react. 6:15 left in this second quarter.
Terry misses shots inside, and the foul is called, and this one will also go against the Spurs, and Brent Barry with a personal foul. So Tim Duncan having to sit down with 3 fouls. He has scored 16 points, 8 of 10 from the line. The rest of the team has scored 16 points. And now Josh Howard going to the line for 2. The Spurs in the penalty already. And here is Howard. So this crowd, and it's been a feisty game in this first half, Reggie, as we expect game 2s to be.
Dick, tempo, and style. And that's what Avery Johnson wanted to do. Get into the game quickly and create a tempo and style. They have getting out fast break points, loose balls, and creating havoc and silencing this crowd.
And the biggest lead of the game for Avery Johnson's Mavericks, trying to draw even at 1-1. The team split the regular season 2 apiece. Josh Howard with 18 points with help from Stackhouse with 10. Nowitzki hasn't really exploded yet, still quiet offensively. Parker going in again, and the rebound by Nowitzki. Tony Parker has been penetrating effectively. Not that time. Here is Howard. He's been hot. Three-point attempt doesn't go. Finley with a rebound.
And I thought he should have took that one off the dribble. He had Robert Horry running at him.
Here, down low is Horry, and Horry misses the layup on the feed from Finley. Crowd wondering why no foul on Horry. Under 5.5 to play. Tough skip pass made by Howard. They go into Nowitzki, and Dirk Nowitzki with a good pass that time.
Unfortunate that wasn't an and one right there. I thought Finley got a little bit of wrist right there, but they're letting him play at both ends.
15-point lead, biggest, and there is Parker inside against Terry, and they're going to call the foul against Terry.
That's a good call.
And that'll be 3, I believe, on him. So the starting point guard for the Mavericks has 3 fouls. Tim Duncan has 3 fouls. What do you expect? It's Dallas and San Antonio. Dallas 160, San Antonio 63. Should anyone be surprised?
The 2006 NBA playoffs on TNT. Brought to you by new Heineken Premium Light. Make a smooth introduction. And by Ford. Bold moves.
And a wild first half here in San Antonio, the AT&T Center, as the Mavericks lead by 15 points with 5:01 remaining, and Tim Duncan on the bench with 3 fouls. He has scored 16 points for San Antonio, and there you see the foul trouble in the game.
Well, we're going to see how the Spurs react with Tim Duncan being on the bench right now. But speaking of the bench, I mean, the Spurs, who led this postseason of all benches, they only have 2 points coming from Nick Van Exel. The Mavericks 12 points led by Jerry Stackhouse's 10. So, I mean, this is a tale of 2 benches right here. The Spurs have been great all postseason. Barry been fantastic from the 3-point line. Michael Finley been fantastic from the 3-point line. They've been non-existent really in games 1 and 2.
Got to remember, of course, that one of those guys from the bench, Robert Horry, is starting. Normally he comes off the bench to hit threes. Nazr Muhammad, not an offensive threat, is on the bench. Nick Van Exel has been tossed out with 2 technical fouls. So they're going to need Brent Barry and Michael Finley to hit perimeter shots. There is Nazr Muhammad, and when he was a starter this year, when he took over at center, the Spurs went 23-7. But with Robert Horry in, they can really space things out, have Duncan in the low post, and have lanes for the slashers, Parker and Ginobili.
Well, a lot of that was Tony Parker going to Popovich and said, look, I need more I need more lanes to get into the lane. He needs to create. Robert Horry extends the defense because this man has to come out, and Tony Parker can get into the lane and for those teardrop shots.
With 1 free throw, it's a 47-33 game. Bowen is on Nowitzki, lost his footing and throws it away.
Good defense there by Bruce Bowen. You always, as a defender, anytime the offensive player turns his back, you've done your job. And Bruce Bowen did a great job right there of making Nowitzki turn his back.
Bruce Bowen, who named to USA Basketball, one of 23 players and the oldest at age 35 because of his defensive savvy and his ability to play team basketball. Manu Ginobili ready to come back in the game. Here's Finley. And Howard getting the rebound. Howard with 18 points, working against Finley into the corner. Here's Stackhouse with another 3. That's Stackhouse's 3rd three-pointer from the corner tonight, and it opens up a 17-point Dallas advantage.
Drive and dish. Drive and dish. That's been the memo for these guards. Get into the paint, and when they collapse, knock it out to the 3-point shooters.
Parker trying to get a basket or at least a foul from Nowitzki, gets neither. And with under 4 minutes to go, here's Devin Harris on the run, and the foul called against Parker. The Spurs have been in the penalty. 2 shots coming up here.
Look at Josh Howard getting into the teeth of the defense. Jerry Stackhouse spotting by the short corner 3, making the defense collapse. That's been the point of emphasis for game 2 for Avery Johnson. Let's attack the paint, either to score ourselves or to dish it out to our shooters.
Stackhouse scoring 24 points in game 1, has 13 already. A reminder to log on to TNT Overtime Playoffs 06 on NBA.com or AOL.com/NBA Now for your exclusive player previews and analysis along with the best from Kenny, Charles, and EJ on NBA.com or AOL.com/NBA. 1 out of 2 for Harris. He has 5, and Ginobili gets inside, but he doesn't convert. And here is Nowitzki, fouled by Barry, and will go to the line.
And that's just a smart move right there by a crafty superstar veteran right there. He gets the guy in the air. Probably could have went by him to the hoop, but let me pick up the foul, because if I don't make the shot, I know I'm at least going to get fouled and go to the free throw line. 86% throughout the playoffs so far. You don't want to dig yourself too big of a hole if you're the Spurs. Obviously, you are at home, but the larger this lead gets, the harder it is going to be come back. You don't have a lot of firepower. Nick Van Exel in the locker room with 2 technicals.
And there's Adrian Griffin coming into the game for the first time. He had been a starter. And Jerry Stackhouse going out with 13 points. So right now, Nowitzki in there with Griffin, Howard, Devin Harris, and Marquise Daniels.
Spurs been outscored 9-1 since Tim Duncan's been on the bench, trying to find someone who's going to put the ball in the basket for the Spurs team.
And Barry with 3 fouls. Van Exel thrown out of the game, so the bench is thin for the Spurs. And a blocking foul has been called against Marquise Daniels.
That's not bad defense right there by Marquise. Moved his feet, had his hands up. Kind of bumped him a little bit, but this is pretty textbook right here. You move your feet, you got your hands up, slide the other way, hands up. Maybe a little bit of contact down low, but hey, I can't be mad if I'm Avery Johnson right there. That's pretty good defense.
15 foul against the Mavericks, so the penalty, and Barry hits the first and the third personal. So add Marquise Daniels to those who have 3 fouls. Jop and Terry, 2 starters, and now Marquise Daniels.
25 personal fouls called here in the first half.
A goodly number.
I mean, officials are calling it kind of tight.
Well, you know, but are they letting him play, or are they calling it tight? It looks like we're getting both of them.
In stretches, you know, they're doing it in stretches. So I know they have a short whistle tonight because they're not taking any lip from anyone, coaches or players.
Spurs do not have a field goal since Tim Duncan went out with his 3rd foul. We approach 3 minutes to go, and it's Bowen knocking the ball away and getting the steal. Bruce Bowen, who is 2nd behind Ben Wallace for Defensive Player of the Year. And here's Brent Barry with a 3-point attempt short.
No, that's not what he's looking for right there. You don't dribble 5 times and then step back for a 3.
Mavericks were up by 20 moments ago. Harris with the drive gets the basket. So Devin Harris getting the start tonight, and only started 4 during the regular season, has 7 points and again a 20-point lead.
Yeah, and if I'm Avery Johnson, I'm so happy. You make adjustments and they come through. They work. You actually see them working on the floor, attack the paint. Got to be happy.
So Spurs still without a basket since Tim Duncan went out of the game. We approach 2 minutes to go. Harris, and the rebound by Nazi Muhammad, called with the push-off. For tonight's In the City, presented by Dodge, our all-new 2007 Caliber is cruising through the streets of San Antonio, headed to the AT&T Center.
We had a great shot in game 1, but we don't want to go down 0-2 and fight back against a team that has seen everything before. So we got to make sure we keep the pressure on and hopefully tie the series tonight, and then it'll be a fun series.
Yeah, I've been from the old school that game 2 is so much more important to me in my eyes than game 1, because in game 1, the previous team throws everything in the kitchen sink at you. So you understand their sets, their calls, their plays. Yes, every team makes adjustments from games 1 and 2, but game 2 is so important because you know all the calls.
Cheryl?
And Reggie, remember, this was a Dallas team last year that went down 2 games against Houston, battled back in the first round and won it. But the biggest knock on this team last season is what they were very fragile mentally. You had Devin Harris, you had Jason Terry and Eric Dampier. That was their first year of playoff experience. Give a lot of credit to Avery Johnson. He has this team mentally tough.
Yeah, absolutely, Cheryl, the coach of the year, the little general, and this team really grew up from last year's playoff experience. Sweeping Memphis was huge for them. They thought that they might have an advantage in this round since the Spurs were extended by Sacramento. But if this series goes long, it could have an effect on the Spurs to play 2 long series in the first 2 rounds.
That's where they have the advantage. They don't have the advantage in games 1 and 2 unless they win one of them. But if it gets to games 6 and 7, fatigue sets in for San Antonio, and that's when those 3 or 4 days that for sweeping that first round series will pay off for Dallas.
Beno Udrih, we said with Van Exel out with the 2 technical fouls, assumes the role of backup point guard, and driving in his foul is Devin Harris, and he'll go to the line to shoot 2. The Spurs still have not gotten a field goal since Tim Duncan went about 5 minutes ago out with his 3rd foul. And right now, let's check into our Atlanta arena with Ernie Johnson. Ernie.
All right, thank you, Dick. Southwest Airlines game break coming up on the T-Mobile halftime report. Kenny and Charles will be here. Magic is already here. Hey, life is good for the Mavs tonight, man.
Well, the defense is aggressive, and then that put them into their aggressive mode on offense. They're taking the ball to the basket tonight and drawing fouls and getting easy layups. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job.
We'll just keep Magic here until Kenny and Charles to stay in the green room. Back to you, Dick.
All right, Ernie.
I know what you mean, Ernie. I've been in that seat many a times, and you can't find Kenny or Charles.
Fabricio Oberto, who was the #1 pick and the oldest rookie that the Spurs have had at age 31 from Argentina, has come in, and Nazr Mohammed gets fouled. So all of a sudden they have a bigger team in there with Nazr Mohammed and Fabricio Oberto. Foul called against Adrian Griffin, and the Spurs have been outscored by the Mavericks 13-3 since Tim Duncan went out. Still no baskets, but here's Mohammed on the free throw line.
Well, you look at the Spurs lineup right now. No Duncan, no Parker on the floor. You got Manu Ginobili, Udrih, Fabricio Umberto. I mean, where are you going to get points other than Manu Ginobili? So right now, this is definitely what Avery Johnson and the Mavs, tailor-made right now. They have offense out there. I really don't see where the Spurs are going to put the ball in the basket.
Well, they got Duncan with 16, Parker with 9, and that's about it. And no one has more than 3 points after those 2. Mohammed makes 1 out of 2. Rebound by Nowitzki. So a minute and 20 seconds remaining in the first half. The Mavericks, who are up by 21 just seconds ago, trying to open up their biggest lead in what has been a huge first half for them on the road here in San Antonio. Here's Griffin, wide open, wild shot, and lost by Udrih, and off the knee. Will go over to San Antonio off the knee of a Maverick. Well, you had said that the Mavericks need to score 30 points in a quarter, and they have achieved that here in the second quarter.
Well, I said they need 30 plus 1 quarter. It'd be great if they can get it in 2 quarters, but that's what they need. Speed up the game. Speed up the game.
Griffin with his 2nd foul, and Ginobili will go to the line for 2. But you're absolutely right with the fact that the Spurs need point makers. They have not had a field goal since Tim Duncan went out with his 3rd foul 6 minutes and 15 seconds ago. That is a long drought for any team.
And what is shocking, because in the first round, especially against Sacramento, this Spurs bench really gave them a big lift. Popovich went to them early, and Michael Finley and Barry. They hit threes in rhythm, and they really gave the starters a break.
Did you see that look on Greg Popovich? He has a furious look to him. And I know he can't be happy with some of the calls, but I know he's got to be thinking about what he's going to say to his team during intermission. There you see the Spurs have been outscored 13-6, missed all 9 shots with Tim Duncan on the bench with what he felt was a questionable third foul.
And here's the Spurs trying to speed up the game on the other end, picking up full court, try to see if they can get a turnover in those last 50 seconds.
And a quiet AT&T Center here in San Antonio. Mavericks losing a heartbreaker in game 1, trying to go home even 1-1. Here is Dirk Nowitzki against Alberto, and Nowitzki now with 13 points, so 31 between the starting forwards. Josh Howard and Dirk Nowitzki, again a 20-point lead. Under a half a minute. Ginobili fouled, and Howard might have gotten him on the elbow, and he did. First foul against Josh Howard, and he is maybe reason number 1 why the Mavericks are where they are right now.
Well, I think him and Devin Harris really set the tone early, as well as Jason Terry. They really pushed the basketball. All 3 of them have been getting in the paint and either creating offense for themselves or for their teammates. So, you know, it's funny because when he scores 20-plus points, Dallas Mavericks are, I believe, like 18-0.
Right.
So he's at 18 right now with a half to go. So maybe this is good signs for Avery Johnson and the Mavericks.
Spurs will have the ball with 21 seconds plus remaining in the first half. And remember that Greg Popovich said, what worries me is the emotional aggressiveness which we had in game 1 won't be here because we were primed. Everything was stacked against us in the first game on Sunday. I worry about a letdown, and he had good reason to, at least through the first half. Ginobili has it knocked away, and Udrih on the final shot of what is a disappointing first half with Tim Duncan scoring 16, but hampered with 3 fouls, and the Dallas Mavericks in front by 20. Spurs did not get a basket after Tim Duncan left with his 3rd foul, and a 58-38 shocker to the capacity crowd here at the AT&T Center. And Cheryl is with one of the culprits for the Mavericks. Cheryl, Jerry Stackhouse.
Well, Jerry, you guys obviously decided to make a change to the lineup. You go with Devin Harris. Not only did you speed up the game offensively, but you got a lift from him as well.
Yeah, it's twofold. Obviously, he put a lot of pressure. He's got the quickness to stay with Parker in the open court. And, you know, we don't wear JT out so much. He can come off and do his thing by shooting the ball.
You were not shy shooting the 3-pointers tonight. You're making sure that you're being aggressive at the offensive end.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, we feel bad about that first loss. We feel that we didn't put enough pressure on them up and down the floor. We came out with a lot of energy, and we just hopefully we can sustain it in the second half.
There were 30 fouls called in the first half. Second half, do you make any adjustments as far as toning it down defensively?
Nah, continuing to attack. You know, if we're able to stop them and not take the ball out of bounds, get the board, we feel that we can push it at them because, you know, they got a lot of guys that like to crash the board, and we can take advantage of that in the fast break.
All right, good luck in the second half. EJ, it's the Dallas Mavericks up big on the Spurs by 20 points, 58-38. Let's send it back to you in Atlanta studios.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it? A 20-point lead for the Mavs as they try to tie things up with the San Antonio Spurs, who went ice cold when Tim Duncan went out with his 3rd foul. No field goals the last 5.5 minutes or so. Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer Magic Johnson. It would be hard for me to think that Avery Johnson couldn't be anything but thrilled with the way the first 24 minutes went here.
But what we talked about in the beginning, mental toughness. What they did was they forced the game to be played at a much faster pace by playing pressure defense and then getting out into transition. And it really helped them. And then they were taking it to the basket. What I saw tonight is instead of them settling for jump shots, they started driving it to the basket every single time and either forcing them to foul or getting layup shots.
I tell you what, you got to take your head off to Avery Johnson, starting Devin Harris and Jason Terry together, just sped the game up. You know, obviously Tony Parker, Ginobili banged up from the regular season, but take your hat off. He made some changes after game 1. If they play at this pace, it's going to be tough for the Spurs to keep up with them.
What are Kenny's pictures telling us about the first 24?
Well, basically it's reiterating what these guys have said. Now we're going to see it visually, because one of the things that they did once they sped the game up, but it also opened the floor up and allowed them to get scoring opportunities and drive to the basket, as well as open jump shot. And Devin Harris was first. And Dallas likes to do unconventional things. There's a two-guard setting a pick for a point guard, so you're not sure where to switch. But then you send it the other way, you penetrate, and then you get a pitch, and you get a wide-open jump shot for Jerry Stackhouse. So Avery just tweaking things and changing things around and making it unconventional. And now here you have another pick-and-roll situation. Josh Howard, you're not sure to switch, you're not sure to stay. And what he does a great job, and sometimes he'll put Dirk as the pick-and-roll, and he'll have him dribble the ball and have Devin Harris or Jason Terry set the pick, which is very unconventional.
See, this is when they didn't close Sacramento out in 5 games or in 4 games. This is when it hurts you, because now you only have 1 day in between games, and you know San Antonio's legs are tired, and that's why when they're speeding the game up, San Antonio cannot keep up with them.
You know whose name I haven't heard you shout in this series?
Because he hasn't played very well.
Are you just going to whisper it now?
Ginobili.
Where is he?
You know what? He hasn't played. He hasn't had a great Ginobili season. He's one of my favorite players.
Kind of dinged up during.
Yeah, he's been banged up all season, and this series is gonna really show. It showed a lot against Sacramento, but Dallas got some of the best guys on the perimeter in the league as far as speed and quickness. Josh Howard, Marquis Daniel, Auburn. But Devin Harris, it's a football school from the South.
Exactly. Manu Ginobili 5 points on 1 of 5, and San Antonio down 58-38. When we come back, Game 2 at the Palace, the Cavs and the Pistons. Would this thing be something like Game 1, or would the Cavs tighten it up?
Welcome to the T-Mobile Halftime Report. T-Mobile, official wireless services partner of the NBA.
Back here on the T-Mobile Halftime Report, getting the old hat for Ben Wallace, Defensive Player of the Year, 4th time in the last 5 years.
They should have named it the Bill Russell Defensive Award, because he was the best. But anyway, Detroit played fantastic. Matter of fact, they remind me of the old Bad Boys defense. I mean, they are really playing great at both ends of the court.
Magic, when they lock you down in that half court, you see how hard LeBron has to work to even make a great move. But that was 6 moves to get 1 basket. That was 6 great moves, crossover behind the back to get 1.
Yeah,
so they're like the old bad boys without the dirty plays.
Right. Well, we have to remind people that Detroit was up 26 points.
And in the 4th quarter, they were up 20.
That's right.
Cleveland cut it to 5, but then Detroit holds them up 97-91. Let's hear from LeBron James.
This is a difficult team. And to win in the playoffs, you got to win on the road. So we 2 down. Try to go home and try to get 2 back. But you can't win a series if you don't win on the road.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that wardrobe for LeBron. I like this shirt. I'll take this and put them all together. Go ahead. Where was he going with that thing?
So thanks for saying that.
But that's beside the point.
But what I wanted to say was, congratulations to Cleveland, because now I think they can definitely win a game now. How they ended the game. Because if they didn't go on that run and close that game within, I think it was 5 points, I didn't think they could win a game in this series. But now that's going to give them confidence going into Game 3, going back home.
I was going to ask, though, was that because, like Detroit says, we kind of got, Fratello said they lost concentration. Detroit said they just kind of got complacent and were shooting jumpers. Was it because Detroit just kind of relaxed, or that Cleveland played that much better, Magic?
No, I think Detroit relaxed. You always do when you're up 20, but I think it gives still Cleveland the confidence that they needed, especially a young team. They needed something to hang their hats on going into Game 3. And that's what they can hang their hat on, the fact that they did play well down.
But somebody other than LeBron got to step up for Cleveland, because they are in serious trouble. It's either, it's got to be Larry Hughes or Goska, somebody, because right now they're basically getting 20 points or more from one guy, and they can't beat the Pistons. I think that end of the game, though, Magic, was like a hollow gold chain. It's not real, because Detroit does such a great job of the things that Cleveland does well. When they isolate LeBron James and they give him an opportunity to go one-on-one, they do a great job of coming over to help and forcing him into, like we saw, 6 different moves to make one. That's LeBron James' game, unless he gets something in transition, which Detroit slows you down. They're not going to give you those easy, quick shots. So Winning the game, it's going to be tough. They can win one.
I think they're going to win one.
Better be game 3.
But I will say one thing. We are witnessing something. We were witnessing an ass kicking.
I wonder if they'll make a commercial out of that, Charles. Probably not exactly what they have in mind. Back with more in a minute on the T-Mobile halftime report.
I knew where he was going with that.
Does this impress the Chuckster?
Man, anybody can put a bowl on their head. See that? I've dropped many bowls. Ernie, you never had a bowl on your head?
Only when I get my hair cut. There you go.
There you go.
What is that?
Thanks for watching the T-Mobile Halftime Report. T-Mobile, official wireless services partner of the NBA.
And now Kenny's Fashion Corner on the T-Mobile halftime.
Oh, the telestrator is good, because see, this is a good suit here, but over here, I don't know about the paisley thing here, and what's going on with the pocket square? The white tie is not going on. It's just, the jewelry's kind of hot. Just a lot of things going on all over the place. Just confusing me, I tell you.
Come on, he's 21.
It's confusing me right now.
But this is the all-timer for the
that's even
playoffs.
better.
Look at Melo's smoking jacket.
Oh, I love the smoking jacket. Can I draw the smoking jacket? Oh, this is hot right there.
You know what?
He's smoking. Let me give him a cigarette.
Want to
there.
give up
There you
smoking
go.
right there. A nice paisley shirt would really set that off.
Oh, my goodness.
And there stands the Alamo here in San Antonio as we get ready to begin the third quarter here at the AT&T Center. Surprise, big surprise. The Mavericks leading by 20, 58-38 over the Spurs. And Dallas is not allowing people to say and themselves to say our best chance was game one. Close call. We didn't get it done. They are really winning and doing it very well. But now if you're the Spurs, you're a good team playing at home, down by 20 points against a good team. What is the approach that a coach would take to begin that slow march back?
Well, I think the old school of thought is let's get it halfway down. Let's get it to 10 points by the end of the third quarter, being down 10 going into the fourth. Pound the ball into Tim Duncan. Let's reestablish our big guy.
Well, everyone thought the big Wake Forest star would be Tim Duncan. Instead, it's Josh Howard so far in this game.
Well, he's done it all, and it's been his second shots, it's been his intensity. But, you know, he's got 9 rebounds, 5 of them offensive. He can kill you in a number of ways. Here he is out on the break, making the easy one. But I'm telling you, who really set the tone and the style of the play has been Devin Harris. Who thought that Tony Parker would be dressed in blue tonight, attacking the paint, putting pressure on the bigs? That's what's really stretched this lead to 20 points has been Devin Harris and Josh Howard.
And right now, let's take a look at tonight's Dodge game summary. And you see the Spurs held to 34% shooting, only 1 for 7 from threes, and been outscored by Dallas 10-1 on second chance points.
Well, those are all hustle areas right there. You know, they're a +10 in rebounds, a +9 in fast break points. San Antonio, which has shot the three particularly well against Sacramento, has been non-existent in the first 2 games against Dallas.
All right, what did Pop have to say? Do we have any idea, Cheryl?
Goodness, Pop was in rare form. He said, you know what, Cheryl, someone once told me basketball is a contact sport. We played that first half like it was a tennis match. He said, give Dallas a lot of credit. They drove the ball down our throats. He goes, Cheryl, bottom line is we're just happy to win game 1. Well, what about game 2, guys?
That's exactly right, as Dirk Nowitzki starts the scoring with his 15th point of the game and a 60-38 lead. So Greg Popovich understandably upset as Ginobili goes down hard, and it's going to be a 2-shot foul.
And penalty, flagrant one.
Penalty as well, and Ginobili shaken
foul,
up.
penalty 1 when the side's out.
And the foul was on Jop. That'll be 4 on Ghana Jop.
Good move here by Ginobili, taking it baseline, fakes him out. You know, you look at the replay, it looks a lot worse than it was. He looked like he did try to make a play. If he would not have brought his arm down, that's what David Jones, one of the officials, saw as him. Oh, it wasn't a flagrant foul one. It was just a good, hard, solid foul. I thought he had signaled ball on the side. but no protection back there. He came down on his tailbone. And I think Popovich is a little upset because I think he saw the same thing I saw when David Jones, one of the officials, signaled to the sideline that it was 2 free throws and the ball out.
Manu Ginobili missing 17 games with a sprained foot and ankle, including a bone bruise. This guy that only won the gold medal with Argentina. Guy has been a whirling dervish. Hell-bent for leather, as Greg Popovich likes to describe him. Relentless player, an exciting player. But guy gets hit and gets hurt.
But he's put a lot of mileage on that body from playing in World International competition, winning that gold medal, same year winning a championship. You know, he plays with a reckless abandon, so his body is always going to be beat down come postseason time.
7 points for Manu Ginobili. Here is Nowitzki. Open is Harris.
And that's going to have to be his next stage of development, is coming up with a better 15 to 18-foot jump shot.
And here's Duncan. You said, how do you get back? Go to Duncan, the double team, and the ball is knocked away. Ginobili has his shot blocked. Here is Josh Howard with the short jumper.
And what Avery Johnson is going to do, Dick, every time now, they're going to double Tim. They're going to let someone else beat him now.
Not a bad idea when you think about Parker 4 for 10 and Ginobili 1 for 5 in the first half. Rich.
Double him every single time.
They're doing it here and losing the ball out of bounds, but last touch by the Mavericks with 8 seconds on the shot clock. It looked like Duncan hurt his left thumb.
And it's all these little bumps and bruises that are going to start coming up. Ginobili, the tailbone, with Parker, the quad, little fingers by Tim Duncan. They all add up.
Parker hitting the jumper. Parker with 11 points. 18-point lead for the Mavericks, who led by 20 at intermission. Devin Harris, who started the game, in there with Josh Howard, Dirk Nowitzki, and a blocking foul as Howard drives in. And, of course, Jason Terry and Robert Horry with his 3rd foul. So he and Duncan have 3.
And we alluded to this in the first half. There's no way on the perimeter Robert Horry can guard Josh Howard. He had the and one in the first quarter, and it was very much the same play. Josh Howard driving right to a strong hand. Robert Horry picking up the foul.
So Josh Howard now looking for his 20th point. And as you pointed out, when he has scored 20 points, the Mavericks are a perfect 18-0 this year. He's got 20. And the lead is 20. 62-42, opening minutes, 3rd quarter.
Well, you know, you can't get it all back at one time. You got to be able to chip it away. You got to look at it and try to get it to 10.
And they're going to call the foul, and it'll be against the Mavericks. And Diop now with 5. That's 5 fouls on the starting center, Sagana Diop. So Eric Dampier is going to have to rush back in.
I thought actual Diop did a pretty good job of trying to get position right there. He was still moving, but you know, that's what you're taught, to try to get that foot on the baseline. He was a little short right there. And at my school of thinking, centers should never take charges anyways. They're too big. Take a foul.
5 fouls in 8 minutes of playing time. Ginobili with the runner from the baseline. So Manu Ginobili has 9 points, 62-44. And the Spurs playing at home, capable of chipping away, as you say, try to get it to single digits if you can. Here is Jason Terry with a smooth jumper, and Terry now with his 2nd basket of the game. So right now they're trading baskets with 2.5 minutes gone in the 3rd.
Well, if I'm Avery Johnson and the Mavericks, I'll take that. You're up 20.
I guess. Horry. And the basket counts in the foul. First points of the game for Robert Horry, and only his 2nd shot attempt. And they're going to call that personal foul on Dirk Nowitzki, his 2nd.
And Robert Horry, known for his 3-point exploits right here, taking the ball off the dribble, getting the and one on Dirk Nowitzki, as the two somewhat kind of had words coming out of that.
Well, when we were talking to Greg Popovich, he has a way of opening up his desk, he has 3x5 index cards as if he were playing solitaire, but he's not. He's got the index cards, and what he does is, like a football coach has a play sheet, he looks down for plays for certain players and takes a look at them and calls them during the timeout. So I wonder if that was a play for Robert Horry.
Well, we know he does have one play for Robert Horry, which I was shocked at, that Robert Horry would have any kind of play drawn for him. But it must have worked. He got fouled on it.
There's Bowen on Nowitzki, knocking it away. Now Duncan on Nowitzki. Here is Terry trying to get free, and great defense as Ginobili was all over Terry. Here is Parker working against Josh Howard. He's got the layup, and it's apparent now as Avery Johnson calls timeout that if the Spurs are to make a comeback in this game, it will be on the defensive end.
Well, it's going to have to be on the defensive end, but when you can get easy runouts like that from Tony Parker, who you haven't seen this very much tonight, but when he gets in the open court, he's as exciting as they come.
Off of defense, of course.
The 2006 NBA playoffs on TNT, brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge, and by the new AT&T. Your world delivered.
Spurs trying to make a comeback here, down by 16 early in the third.
Well, when you want to try to get back into the ball game, obviously it starts on the defensive end. You see the scramble here. Bruce Bowen doing a good job of getting his hand on the ball right here. Tim Duncan comes over to help out to try to get the trap. Ginobili chases Jason Terry off the three, contests the shot. Duncan gets the rebound, outlets to the fastest player on the court, and the best finisher in the open court, Tony Parker.
And a great timeout called by Avery Johnson. Doesn't want the Spurs to get ahead of steam here. Wanted to talk things over to Hurry. Terry gets free and hits the shot. So the timeout and the basket by Terry. And it's 66-48.
Jason Terry got away with an offensive foul right there, pushing off Tim Duncan coming off that pick and roll.
Parker harassed by Harris. No basket and the foul. See if it was on Dampier, and it was. That'll be 3 on Eric Dampier.
Here at the pick and roll, Jason Terry. Nice little shove there on Tim Duncan to clear space.
Mavericks with 4 team fouls, so they could be headed into the penalty early in this third quarter. Here is Duncan against Dampier, who has 3 fouls. Duncan getting the field goal. Duncan now with 18, his first basket, second half.
Well, there's 8 minutes left in this ballgame. You're down by 16. I'm the Spurs. I got to continue to keep the defensive pressure up. 2 by 2, as we call it. Want to get 2 by 2.
Harris. Basket counts and a foul. So first it was Terry as Ginobili gets hit in the face, and he is shaken up.
And I think he got a taste of his own medicine from that first round series when he did that to Ron Artest, as Devin Harris kind of just jumps right back into him and gives him the elbow right into the chops. But
they call it on Manu Ginobili.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Ron Artest had 6 stitches in his lip. There was no foul called. It's incidental contact.
And bleeding on the lip, so he has to come out of the game. And a busy night for Will Sevening, the athletic trainer.
All these bumps and bruises, they add up, Dick. Like I said, he gets busted in the chops.
But inside the mouth.
Reggie, I know that you're an old school basketball player, but during the playoffs, isn't it about intensity and energy and that level going up? And hard fouls as well. Haven't you noticed in this year's playoffs that the refs are really calling it close? A lot of flagrant fouls.
Well, I think they just don't want anything to get out of hand, and that's the reason why there's been so many suspensions and fines. We're talking about the officials. They're just trying to get a hold. I think the officiating crew has done a fabulous job tonight on both ends. They've been very fair. Both teams are shooting their fair amount of free throws, so you can't really say they've been far-sighted one way or the other.
Well, Steve Javy, the lead official tonight, as Harris misses the free throws. And the crowd, these are very fine people here in San Antonio, but unfortunately I cannot repeat what their chant was seconds ago as Parker going up and is fouled. I think the Spurs frustrated that they feel they've been getting the short end of things, although the personal fouls, the Mavericks have been hit with 18 and the Spurs 16. That one is against Harris's first.
Well, you know, it's funny because I've had the same injury as Tony Parker, and just the way he is walking, he's not walking with that same gait that Tony Parker normally walks with. And, you know, that thigh bruise can become sore, it becomes stiff. You see in game 1, 19 points and 7-18 tonight. Yeah, he's shooting pretty good, but he's just not moving the same way. He's not attacking the same way that we know Tony Parker is capable of attacking.
I mean, incredibly quick, as you know,
yes.
Reggie, getting into the paint. And, you know, opposing coaches say we got to stop that penetration, and we have not seen it that much for that reason. 7:20 remaining in the third quarter. And the shot missed by Terry. Here's Parker pushing it up. And Harris forces him to slow down. Parker goes up, travels.
A little too much. Trying to do a little too much. You know, right now, Tim Duncan, he has 5 fouls on Ghana Chop, 3 fouls on Eric Dampier. Let's try to establish that low post. He's been able to get anything he's wanted down low. Let's try to keep going down to Tim Duncan.
Otto Ginobili getting fixed up as a fighter is between rounds.
Where's Freddie Pacheco at? Where's the fight doctor at when you need him?
Here's Harris knocked away by Morey, and it was deflected, and Harris getting the basket. So Devin Harris starting tonight, 12 points and no turnovers. So giving Avery Johnson the spark he needed, and giving them at Dallas Mavericks that early speed that set the tone tonight. Here's Parker inside, and Parker fouled, and if it's at Dampier, that'll be 4 on him. And it is. Dampier with 4. The other center, Jop out of the game with 5.
Well, I'm telling you, Devin Harris is doing the Tony Parker look-alike right here. Just continually attacking the paint, using the glass. And Eric Dampier doing a good job of holding Tim Duncan. That should have been a foul on Eric Dampier. He didn't allow Tim Duncan to come over and rotate. But Devin Harris, the pressure he has put on the Spurs defense, Dick.
Incredible, and so that was a substitution that has paid off to this point as Harris goes out. Jerry Stackhouse coming in for the Mavericks. Robert Horry out of the game. Brent Barry has come in, and so Jop with his 5 fouls is in the game at center. And Parker nearly has the ball taken away. Quickly goes into the corner. Good ball movement. Barry for 3, and he's got it. Brent Barry with the 3-point basket as time ran out in game 2 against Sacramento to send that game into overtime, which the Spurs won.
Maybe that'll be a jump start for this Spurs bench. Big stop here. Big possession for the Mavericks. Could be a big stop for the Spurs.
Nearly halfway through this third quarter. Barry against Stackhouse on the matchup. Stackhouse with a fall-away hitting. So Mark Cuban has seen his players hitting open jumpers every time the Spurs have made a run. Stackhouse now with 15. Finley down low to Duncan. Howard double teams him with Job, who has 5 fouls. 9 on the shot clock. Finley with a runner.
And Dirk Nowitzki did a terrible job of closing out right there. You can't allow the blow by for him to get into the paint. Close out in the stance. Make him shoot over you. You're 7 feet.
15-point lead. Biggest lead was 22 by Dallas. They were up by 20. The Mavericks were at halftime. Here is Nowitzki going up, losing balance. The ball tipped and taken down by Finley. Here's Barry. And the crowd hoping the Spurs can get back into this game. Jop is fronting Duncan. Double team to Duncan. And Bowen saves it nicely. The 4 on the shot clock, and Finley loses it.
Good defense by Josh Howard. Better hustle by Ghana Jop.
And Howard with the drive. Blocking foul is called by Barry, and this crowd is beside itself as Brent Barry hit with his 4th personal foul.
But Dick, when you're the aggressor and you establish the style and the tempo, you will always get the edge. And Dallas has been the aggressor all game. They've been attacking the paint all game, so they're going to get the benefit of the doubt calls.
You earn that.
You earn that. They've been the aggressor all game.
So Josh Howard on the free throw line has scored 20 points, 7 for 7 from the free throw strike. Friday night on ESPN, the Heat and the Nets, followed by the Suns and Clippers. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And Saturday night on ABC, it's the Pistons and the Cavaliers. Coverage for that game will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern. And this crowd...
But it's funny because the crowd is not getting on the Mavericks.
No, they're
the
getting
crowd
on the
is getting on the referee. So that has nothing to do with Dallas. Dallas game plan continues the same. They're going to keep playing the same way.
22 for Howard. And the point is they started this game by being the aggressors and have never really let up. A 17-point lead for the Mavericks. Here is Finley for 3. Duncan with the offensive rebound, going up strong and scores. Tim Duncan bothered by the plantar fasciitis in his right foot and was waiting for the moment to play as he did in game number 1 and now says, let's go for it. It's playoff time. I'm not going to worry about biding my time with less playing time because of injuries. He's giving it all now. Here's Nowitzki into Jop and the foul, and it'll be on Michael Finley.
Well, he's trying to do all he can do. Tim Duncan has established himself down low as Michael Finley's shot rains off. The offensive rebound by Duncan as he takes on 2 Mavs right there. A good play there by Dirk Nowitzki. Getting in the lane, drawing a double team, finding Donna Jop. And Michael Finley did the right thing by putting him on the line. He hasn't shot all game.
And a free throw made, 54% free throw shooter on the year is Jop, and here is Manu Ginobili, who needed what looked like extensive work inside of his mouth when he was.
Yeah, he took a pretty good shot from Devin Harris on that and 1.
1 out of 2 for Sagana Jop. 75-59, the Mavericks leading. The only lead tonight with the Spurs, the first free throw of the game by Tim Duncan to make it 1-0. Otherwise, it's been all the Mavericks. Finley with a drive, doesn't go, with 3:45 left on the clock in the third quarter. And Parker called for the push-off on Howard.
Tony Parker, I think Josh Howard did the right thing. Understood he had Tony Parker on him. There's no way Tony Parker can guard Josh Howard on the block. Josh Howard doing a good job of making sure Parker tried to get around in front of him, held him off. But when you're the aggressor, we go back to it, you get the benefit of the doubt calls.
Eva Longoria, who missed game 1, she was at the Mexican version of the Academy Awards and present for game number 2. As Dirk Nowitzki leaves the game, having scored 15 points, replaced by Marquise Daniel.
Did Eva just say the refs start with the rest of this crowd?
Well, I didn't read the lips.
You don't read lips?
Not that time. Wearing that number 9 you see around her neck for Tony Parker. Meanwhile, Josh Howard with 24 points. 3.5 to go here in the third. Duncan against Jop. Next foul will be his 6th. Good ball movement. Bowen for 3.
And that is Bruce Bowen's sweet spot. He doesn't shoot a lot of shots, but when he does, they're from the corners. Corner threes.
9th in three-point shooting this year. 3 years ago led the league. Terry fighting his way in. Jason Terry, who got off to a slow start tonight with foul trouble, has 8 points. And it's a 17-point lead. So the Spurs playing with a lot more energy here in the third quarter, but the Dallas Mavericks are answering every surge the Spurs have had.
Every run, the Mavericks are answering.
Duncan, double team, stolen away by Terry. 3-on-2 break. Stackhouse can't convert. And a good job done by Josh Howard to prevent the outlet pass from Duncan.
That's traveling. He's calling an inadvertent whistle. That's the problem. David Jones just called an inadvertent whistle.
And a good call by David Jones because
that would have been
not a discontinued.
Right, that would have been the Mavericks ball because if Ginobili would have went over and picked it up, that would have been traveling. So either they're going to call a jump ball or they're going to call Mavericks ball. I'm just wondering, how did Garner drop hit the floor on that? Was he pushed? Was he trying to go after him? Was he pushed?
He didn't pick it up because that's the appeal.
Right, because Tim Duncan was trailing, and Tim Duncan saying, I had a chance to pick up the basketball, so how could he have
Ginobili didn't pick it up.
No, Ginobili hadn't picked it up, but if he would have, it would have been traveling.
See, I could read lips there. I read lips there. not before.
Right here, see, Ginobili thought that Tim Duncan was right there on the trail. So here comes Tim Duncan crossing half court. He was about ready to pick it up. He was the closest to the basketball.
Timeout's going to be called. What a game. Busy night for the officials.
The San Antonio Spurs care about their community through his participation in the NBA's Basketball Without Borders program, visiting children at local hospitals, or making time to meet Hurricane Katrina evacuees. Manu Ginobili always comes through for his team and the community. The NBA cares, continuing a tradition of basketball in service to the global community.
Well, let's try to clear up what happened on the previous play right here. Manu Ginobili was coming down off the fast break. He assumed Tim Duncan was at the top to swing the basketball. He wasn't. So as the ball starts to bounce, he cannot pick it up. David Jones inadvertently calls because he thought he was going to pick it up and it was going to be traveling. But he didn't pick it up. So they huddle. It's an inadvertent whistle, and it's a jump ball.
Controlled by the Spurs.
New 24.
2.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. The Spurs have hit 9 of 12 from the field here in this quarter, but have made up only 3 points on the deficit. Here is Duncan going in, and he scores. Good reverse move by Tim Duncan, who has 22.
Well, if I'm the Spurs, I'm going to Tim Duncan every single time because Ghana Diop is not going to guard him because he has 5 fouls. So if you can get shots like that each time down the floor, you have to take them and let your defense come up with some stops.
Terry off the rim. Under 2 minutes to go. 15-point lead.
Get back into Tim Duncan.
Mavericks are up by 20 at intermission. Ghana Diop with 5 fouls.
He has them.
Playing behind Tim Duncan. And Ginobili steps back for the 3, in and out. Tipped by Duncan, out of bounds, and last touch by the Spurs. So Ginobili, 2 of 8, plus a cut lip needing stitches apparently, and Manu Ginobili with 9 points in this game after scoring 15 in the series opener. And Dirk Nowitzki checking back in. He has scored 15 points. So Nowitzki, along with Howard, Marquise Daniels, Devin Harris, and Jerry Stackhouse.
And this is a mismatch.
Daniels.
Are you kidding me? There's no way Nazir Muhammad can guard Marquise Daniels 20 feet away from the basket.
Muhammad with Ginobili, Finley, Duncan, and Parker. And Finley very nearly lost the ball, and now the Spurs do lose the ball. And here comes Devin Harris, a big part of the dominating lead by the Mavericks tonight. Howard open for 3, and he hits it. A big one for the Dallas Mavericks, and their bench celebrating on its feet. 27 points for Howard, his second 3 of the game. And once again, the lead is 20.
And one player made that, Devin Harris. Secondary break, brought it back out. Ginobili pressured him. He got into the teeth and found Josh Howard.
And here's Duncan against Dirk Nowitzki. Foul, and will shoot 2 as Nowitzki hit with his 3rd.
And this is a beautiful play by Devin Harris right here. Ginobili tries to overplay. Look at that, 1, 2, 3 Spurs defenders collapse on the drive. Josh Howard tying his shoes, lacing up a 3, wide open.
9 points for Howard here in the third quarter. 6 by Terry. And Duncan, who is very, maybe not so quietly, but in a losing cause to this point, a brilliant game. 7 of 8 from the field, 9 of 11 from the line, 7 rebounds, and 23 points. But a pivotal segment of this game occurred when Duncan picked up his 3rd foul in the second quarter, and the Spurs did not get a field goal.
Spurs couldn't score.
The rest of the half, about 7 minutes.
Well, this is a different series for Tim Duncan. Sharif Abdul-Rahim put so much defensive pressure on him because of his offensive prowess. There's no one on the Mavs that are going to put that kind of pressure on him. So he's being more aggressive offensively.
20 seconds to go in the third quarter. Stackhouse. Rebound by Duncan. So the Spurs playing for the last shot of the third quarter. Mavericks have already scored 84 points, 1 fewer than they scored in game 1. Parker, and great interception by Devin Harris as he anticipated that pass. No basket. But the Dallas Mavericks have not let up, and when the San Antonio Spurs came out concertedly in the third quarter to make a drive, the Mavericks answered them in kind. And at the end of 3 here, the Mavericks, looking to tie the series, are up 84-66 over the defending champs. Start of the fourth quarter with the Mavericks up 84-66, but outscored by only 2 in the third. And here is tonight's Making the Right Choice, presented by Wendy's.
And all night it's been penetration and fast break opportunities. Jason Terry to Josh Howard, who's been getting out and getting them plentiful tonight. Him and Devin Harris and Josh Howard carrying this team in the second and third quarter.
And another aspect, Reggie, remember in game number 1, the Mavericks turned it over 6 times in the fourth quarter. And tonight, they have outscored the Spurs by 11 in fast break points, thanks to a 15-2 edge in converting turnovers into points.
Well, that's been part of the game plan. Avery Johnson talked about we want to speed up the game. Easy basket opportunities.
Manu Ginobili working his way in, Cutlet and all, and gets into double figures with 11 points to start the scoring. So it's Devin Harris, along with Josh Howard, Marquise Daniels, Dirk Nowitzki, and Jerry Stackhouse for the Mavericks. Looking to tie the series at 1 apiece, going home to the American Airlines Center for the next 2 games. Daniels, and deflected by Duncan. Follow up by Daniels. So good persistence paying off for the Mavericks.
Well, the Spurs are small. Tim Duncan comes out and gets the block. Someone else has to get the rebounds, but you have Ginobili, who's at 6'7", the next biggest guy. You guys got to keep guys off the board to go after the rebound.
And Finley, Bowen, and Udrih make up the rest of the starting 5. So this is really a small team out there for the Spurs.
Well, it's an offensive team as well. It's a team that can get you back in the game because they can make threes. So, but they got to come up with stops to get the ball so they can create opportunities for themselves.
9 on the shot clock. Duncan out to meet Nowitzki. Bowen is on Stackhouse. Duncan now on Stackhouse on the switch and gets the reverse layup. So Jerry Stackhouse, 24 points to lead the Mavericks in game 1, has 17. Second to Josh Howard's 27 tonight.
Well, I said that the Mavericks needed 30-plus point quarters. They started with 26, had 32 in the second, came back with 26. So they're right on target. This is exactly what they're looking to do. Try to score at least 25 or so a quarter. Put offensive pressure on the Spurs.
That's what Avery Johnson said, Reggie. He said, I'm really concerned about scoring. He doesn't have the concerns right at the moment. Ginobili getting his second field goal of the fourth quarter. Beno Udrih.
It's a 1-on-4. It's a 1-on-4. And it's not Tony Parker splitting. That's, Udrih. Take it out. Let's go back down to Tim Duncan.
Harris working against Udrih, and the foul called. And if you've joined us late, Nick Van Exel was tossed out of the game for picking up 2 technical fouls. So Beno Udrih assuming the backup point guard role, his second year from Slovenia. Here's Parker being talked to by Popovich. Harris on the line and makes the first. Tomorrow night on TNT, it's the Nets and the Heat, game 2 of their series, followed by the second game between the Clippers and the Suns. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Well, this is a tale now. You've gone to a small lineup. You've gone to a perimeter offense with Ginobili and Finley, Vino, and Bruce Bowen. Let's try to get Tim Duncan down low. Obviously, he can get whatever he wants.
Ginobili with the runner. Finley keeps it alive and tips it in on the high tip. Michael Finley. And the lead is 18. The problem is time. A factor when you're down by this much against a good team.
Well, you can't trade baskets. You got to come up with stops. You got to get a little lucky here, too.
Harris goes back to Daniels with 8 on the shot clock. Nowitzki. And Dirk Nowitzki softly puts it through, his 17th point.
And he hasn't tried to force anything with Bruce Bowen on him. He's kind of taken what's been given to him.
He has not needed to really carry the load tonight. Double team on Duncan. Good rotation defensively by the Mavericks. And the foul is called, and a timeout coming up. Dirk Nowitzki with his 4th personal foul. That's not really a big factor here with his team up by 20 in the 4th quarter.
You ready? Sometimes the toughest life to save is your own.
I'm all in.
Tom Everett Scott, Saved, an all-new original series coming this June only on TNT.
This is when superstars and coaches get paid the big bucks in the playoffs. Avery Johnson showing his maturation as a coach. Look at the adjustments he's made in game 2, starting Devin Harris. He has 14 points in the penetrations. He wanted to attack, plus 11 in fast break points. And in the second half, when they got the lead, every time Tim Duncan got it, he faced the double team. Smart adjustments by Avery Johnson. Looking at the game film, understanding every game is going to take a life of its own. We have to make adjustments, and we're sure Popovich is thinking the same thing come game 3 on Saturday.
And we will talk about that as the game moves on here in the 4th quarter. And the coach of the year, Avery Johnson, richly deserved. Not only are the Mavericks trying to even this best of 7 at 1 apiece, trying to reverse a recent trend. They have lost 5 of the last 6 games here in San Antonio and 7 of the last 10 overall. So the Spurs have had the Mavericks number, and this would go a long way to showing it's a new Dallas team in town. Stackhouse going up with the slam, and the blocking foul is called by Eddie F. Rush.
And Tim Duncan is saying, you can't call blocking because Eric Dampier is the one that pushed me or boxed me out into him. So if there's a foul, it's got to be on Eric Dampier. That's the second time Damp hasn't let Tim Duncan rotate over to help, as he's just holding him up basically, and then he kind of pushes his own man into Jerry Stackhouse.
4 fouls on Duncan. You can see him shaking his head. And Stackhouse with 18 points. Tim Duncan tonight, very quietly, is 26 points to lead the Spurs. 12 of 14 from the line, but 4 fouls.
Smart move by Damp. Very smart. You're not going to get called for it. Use that big body.
And the Mavericks foul, and that'll be on Dampier. I believe that'll be 5. So the two-headed centers, call them that, Sagana Diop and Eric Dampier, each with 5 fouls. But again, with a 20-point lead at 8:13 remaining, it is not startling at this point, and we're going to see Diop come back with his 5 fouls.
Well, Eric Dampier goes out with 5 fouls, and you bring in his replacement, who also has 5 fouls. So if I'm the Spurs, continue to go to Duncan, because they don't want to pick up their 6. They don't want to bring in DJ Pinga to guard Tim Duncan.
Duncan with the jumper. Eight of 9.
So basically right now, if I'm the Spurs, you've got to come up with a stop every other time and convert at the other end to get back into this ball game with a little over 7.5 minutes left.
Barry picks it up. 2-on-1 to Finley. No foul? Yes.
Technical foul. It's not a foul. It's a technical foul on Jerry Stackhouse for standing over Michael Finley when he's on the ground. You don't want the same thing, the Kwame Brown standing over Boris Diaw incident that happened in Los Angeles. Here's a great block by Jerry Stackhouse. There was no foul called, but then when Finley went to the ground, it was the whole standing over him, as they call taunting in this league. You don't want anything to escalate. In playoff basketball, you're going to be seeing each other, you know, on every other day, so you don't want anything to arise or escalate for something like that, as Jerry Stackhouse kind of looks back at him, and David Jones right on the play with the technical foul.
Finley made the free throw, and of course you're looking at the possibility now for a long series, and you want to quell any kind of serious temper situations. Brent Barry hitting a three, so Bowen and Barry each have hit two, and it is a 14-point game with 7 minutes, 20 seconds remaining. And the first time this half that the Spurs have gotten the deficit under 15 points, but the lay-in by Harris with 16 points. Every time San Antonio gives the crowd some hope, the Mavericks have an answer.
And I'm really shocked at the Spurs' interior defense. It's been a straight line drive every time for Devin Harris to the hoop.
Now Harris committing the foul. And for the Mavericks, that is their third team foul of this fourth quarter. Tony Parker will come back into the game, replacing Beno Udrih. Parker has scored 15 points on 6 of 12 shooting. Parker guarded by Harris. Duncan working on Job. Job getting the rebound. Parker trying to get Job 6th foul.
That was close to it being his 6th foul right there.
Parker trying to head off Harris. Pick and roll. Howard setting it up there, and the drive and the foul as Harris will go to the line.
And Tony Parker got hit on the elbow right there. Add that to the list of, as they call, just little boo-boos throughout the game. He's got his hip, he's got his quad, now he gets hit, looks like in his arm area. And Devin Harris, wow, putting on a lot of pressure on Tony Parker and that whole Spurs defense.
And really holding on to that right arm. Brent Barry was charged with the personal foul, and that is 5 on Barry. Parker remains in the game. It has been an exhausting game.
He's tired. You can just tell.
And
you gotta remember, they came out of a very physical 6-game series with Sacramento where a lot of them got beat up. Bonzi Wells, Ron Artest, 2 physical players, really instilled their will on them in that 6th game. You know, that's why you try to eliminate games and teams as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, 18 points for Devin Harris. Barry with the fall away over Stackhouse. So Barry hitting a 3 and now a 2. Playing with 5 fouls, has 10. So it's a 16-point lead and just about halfway through this fourth quarter. Manu Ginobili admitted his legs were tired. Of course, he got hit in the mouth in this game. Parker not 100%. And that one drops through for Harris again. 20 points for Devin Harris, making the most of his start in this game. Remember, he only started 4 in the regular year and missed 19 of the last 30 games with a thigh injury. Parker tries to get it up there, and Job gets a piece of it.
And you know, like I said, Tony Parker's gait doesn't look like it normally is. He doesn't have that explosion going to the hole. And he's trying to put pressure back on Devin Harris, but it just isn't there. I'm sure Papa's going to enjoy these next 2 days off before they play again on Saturday.
Stackhouse, who has hit 3 threes from the corner, out of bounds, last touched by the Mavericks. So we have a timeout. Dallas already at 100, exceeding their season's average with 5:22 to play in the fourth quarter. Staying in control on the road. No easy task against the defending world champs.
The 2006 NBA playoffs on TNT. Brought to you by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world. By Rocky Mountain Refreshing Coors Light. Taste the cold. By Autotrader.com, the smarter place to buy and sell a car. And by Sprite, reminding you to obey your thirst.
Mavericks lead by 18 in their efforts to tie the series at 1 apiece. 5:22 left in the fourth. Here's tonight's Lamisille AT step-up play of the game.
Well, Devin Harris has been doing it all game. Right there, the pressure by Ginobili gets into the lane. 3 Spurs converge, and Josh Howard laces up the 3 with the Lamisille play of the game.
Let's take a look at how this series shapes up as the scene shifts to Dallas for games 3 and 4. 5 p.m. and the rest of the series, and then game 5 would be back here at San Antonio, and the rest of the schedule.
Well, I tell you what, now obviously Avery Johnson and Dirk Nowitzki and the rest of the Mavs have made their changes in game 2. I'm curious to see, and we all know how great Popovich is. He's a great technician. He's going to dissect this tape and come up with all kinds of answers for game 3.
Barry has the shot deflected by Sagana Diop. So the centers, who had more fouls than points, 3 of them for the Mavericks in game 1, picking up another slew of fouls here in game number 2, but it's not affecting the Mavericks' performance the least bit. Kickball and 14 seconds on the shot clock. So what kind of adjustments do you see for the Spurs, Reggie?
Well, I really think that Manu Ginobili has to be more aggressive offensively. Right now, you're deferring to Tim Duncan, and it depends on the health of Tony Parker. Is it going to be the old Tony Parker or the banged-up Tony Parker? But Ginobili has to be that guy for them.
3 on the shot clock, and Ginobili all over Nowitzki. And that's the kind of game it's been. So here's the clock running out, and the Mavericks really with no offensive play to speak of, and Manu Ginobili doing a good defensive job, and Nowitzki hits it at the shot clock buzzer.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours. Everything is going right now for the Mavericks, but you know, like I've always said, it's only one game. Yes, they've come in here and stolen home court advantage, but the Spurs, you don't win 60-plus games by not winning on the road. So you won there during the regular season. You won there during the playoffs the last few years. So I think as Popovich is going to clean the bench and take the starters out, start that added needed rest for the next 2 days. Like we said, game 3 is until Saturday in Dallas as the scene shifts to the American Airlines Arena. But you know, a lot of people got to look themselves in the mirrors on that Spurs bench, but they're capable of doing it. Like I said, they're the world champions. They know how to win on the road.
Barry lays it in, and I think the comments that Greg Popovich said to us after he got the team going, because all the disadvantages because of the short turnaround in game number 1, he says, I worry about the emotional aggressiveness, that it won't be there in game 2, and it was well-founded.
It wasn't. And, you know, Coach Popovich is a smart man. He definitely understands the psyche of his own team. He understands their tendencies and what they are used to and accustomed to and their mannerisms, and he just felt that they were going to be flat and they were going to be a letdown, and he was right.
And let's give a lot of credit to, of course, to the Dallas Mavericks to come in after a heartbreaking loss. A lot of teams would look back and say, we almost won that game. We should have won the game, losing by 2. And then instead of suffering a letdown, which they could have done in this game 2, came out the opposite way. So kudos to Avery Johnson for getting his team to play a game I think he would like to bottle.
Well, I wish it could be that easy, but he is going home to friendly confines. They do play and run much better at home, and they ran fantastic tonight. So they're going to a place where the crowd is going to be energized, the city is going to be energized. They've got that one mental block out of their head. Can they beat this team in the playoffs? And it's only one game, but it does go a long way for the psyche of the Mavericks.
No question about it, as Beno Udrih hits the jumper and the starters are on the bench. So it doesn't appear that home court is going to be strictly adhered in this series, and that includes the next 2 games in Dallas. But it does appear as if this series is going to be a long one and an exciting one.
Well, and if I'm the Clippers or the Suns, I'm thinking, you know, if we can hurry up and finish business and try to get some rest, because these 2 teams are going to bloody each other up.
You're absolutely right. It's always a battle of attrition, as you well know. I mean, from your experiences with the Indiana Pacers, and that is the fact that if you get into long series in the second round, it's not going to be great in the third round. And of course, both these teams would like to win a championship. So it's a war of attrition. You want to win, get out as quick as you can. Tomorrow night on TNT, it's the Nets and the Heat in Game 2 of their series, with New Jersey leading 1-0, followed by Game 2 between the Clippers and the Suns. Phoenix up 1-0. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. There you see the 3 World Championship banners of the Spurs, 3 in 7 years, but trying to win back-to-back for the first time ever. So here is the way the playoffs look long range. Pistons up 2-0 on Cleveland. Talked about Miami, New Jersey tomorrow. The Dallas Mavericks ready to tie this series up, and tomorrow night Game 2 in the other Western Conference playoff. Udrih fouled with 2:55 on the clock. So a big performance by a couple of young players who are relatively new to the playoff life. Josh Howard in his 3rd year, and Devin Harris getting the start in his 2nd season, combining for 47 points. And add Dirk Nowitzki's 21. 3 players on the Mavericks with 20 or more tonight.
Well, and like I said, they wanted to get 30-plus points. They got that in the second quarter, but they got 26 in the first and 26 in the third. So Avery Johnson has to be happy about that. Speeding up the tempo, making this Spurs team play baseline to baseline.
And then Tim Duncan, who had a brilliant game, 28 points, 9 rebounds, picked up his 3rd foul. The Spurs could not get a basket the rest of the half, more than 6 minutes in total. But the Mavericks were in control even before that foul. Mauricio Oberto with his first shot.
Well, we know the Spurs team, they're very prideful. Obviously, they are the world champions. 60-plus wins this year. So they know that they can go into American Airlines Arena and win ball games, especially playoff pressure-packed ball games they've done for the last few years.
Franchise record 63 wins for the Spurs, and as Terry hits the 3, the Mavericks with 60 wins, matching their all-time win total, and only the 3rd time you've had 2 teams with 60 or more wins matched up in a conference semifinal.
Well, you know, everyone's, especially on the Dallas side, is boo-hooing because they got to go against, San Antonio in the first round. But I think it's a compelling matchup in the second round. You get a great second-round matchup. Now, is it fair or not? Probably not to Dallas.
Sooner or later, you got to play it, right?
But sooner or later, you are going to have to play them in the conference finals or in the semifinals. So it doesn't matter when you play them, you're going to have to play them.
On the free throw line is Marquise Daniels, and a very joyous Dallas Mavericks bench. And rarely do you see this arena with thousands of empty seats in the final minutes of a playoff game. It hasn't been that way for quite a long time.
Well, it started with the jump ball, layups, Josh Howard, Devin Harris. They set the tone, and they kept it for 48 minutes.
Udrih with the lay-in. So the Mavericks, you talk about teams making adjustments. They made a lineup adjustment tonight, which paid off, and an aggressive adjustment, knowing they needed more scoring. And now we'll see what the Spurs do Saturday in game number 3. So we wind down to a minute remaining in this game, and the Dallas Mavericks with a convincing victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Josh Powell, the rookie from North Carolina State, getting a chance here. And Udrih, hit by Adrian Griffin from behind, will go to the line. Well, a different Maverick team, and as we said, these 2 teams have a pretty good history. Both reached the conference finals 2003 as the Mavericks lost to the Spurs in 6 games.
Yeah, that's when Dirk Nowitzki went down with that knee injury. I believe it was in game 3 or 4, never played the rest of the series. Steve Kerr, one of our TNT colors, hitting those big shots in game 6 in Dallas to clinch it.
So under a minute remaining, and Jerry Stackhouse with 19. He's on the bench. 3 players with more than 20, and 19 for Stackhouse. Big effort for the Mavericks, and it did not matter that their centers got into foul trouble again. Here's Benga. And this is about as quiet as I think anyone has ever heard. San Antonio home game in postseason. Tony Parker and Bruce Bowen getting set for another day. And the one thing you know is that this team is going to come out with a vengeance in Dallas.
Pop will have him noted. He's, like I said, he's a great motivator. He's great with X's and O's. He's going to understand and dissect this tape. He's going to come up with a game plan that's obviously totally different from games 1 and 2. And he's going to let the chips fall where they may. But, you know, I think the Spurs team plays better on the road than they really do at home. It's that bunker mentality, us against the world, 12 against 20,000. And I think they like the odds there.
Steal by Darrell Armstrong, and the veteran lays it in. So Darrell Armstrong, in his 12th year, one-time Sixth Man of the Year, 113-91. And Armstrong going for another steal, but it'll be Spurs ball with 7.1 seconds remaining. And they wanted points tonight. Avery Johnson got points. 113. And you're looking at a team that was second to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Speed up the game.
Allowing only 89 points. They did it. The wave from Avery Johnson. He got what he needed. First playoff win in San Antonio since May 27th and 2003. And the series is tied 1 game apiece. And here's tonight's closer of the game, presented by TNT's The Closer.
Devin Harris, 20 points of 7 of 12 field goals. He's the one that set the tempo and the style all night for the Mavericks, attacking their defense.
Thanks to our producer, Rodney Vaughn, our director, Howie Singer, our statistician, Marty Aronoff. Right now, Devin Harris is with Cheryl Miller.
Well, Devin, it was your first playoff start. You certainly made the most of your opportunity. You put a lot of pressure on the Spurs. What was it after game 1 that Coach Avery saw that prompted the change?
We definitely wanted to get more out in transition, try to get some easy buckets, and try to force the tempo to our pace. More in game 1, we played at their pace, and, you know, reflected by the score.
You know what? You guys obviously got what you wanted to split, but looking back at game 1, you got to get a little greedy and still be shaking your head. You should be going back to Dallas up 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had our opportunities, but we let that one slip away, but we can't dwell on it now. We got to look to hold our own home court when we go back.
All right, congratulations. I'll see you in Dallas.
All right, thanks, Cheryl.
Let's send it back to you, Dick and Reggie.
All right, thank you very much, Cheryl. So our final score tonight, the Dallas Mavericks draw even with the Spurs, 1 game apiece, winning 113-91. And coming up next on TNT, it's Inside the NBA. They'll have all the post-game reaction from tonight. So for Reggie Miller and Cheryl Miller, this is Dick Stockton saying goodnight from San Antonio. Now let's go to Ernie Johnson in our Atlanta studio.
All right, thank you very much, Dick. Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai, comes your way in just moments from now. Magic's here. Kenny the Jet Smith and Charles Barkley to break down the night. Look ahead to tomorrow night's doubleheader. It's all coming up on Inside next. Tomorrow night, doubleheader action continues here on TNT. Miami Heat at home trying to even things up against the New Jersey Nets. And then Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns up 1-0, playing host to the Clippers. Stick around, Inside's coming up.
Gary and Brooke are pleased to announce their breakup.
Great.
Fine. Let's do that.
On June 2nd.
I think you should leave.
You think I'm gonna move out of the place and let her keep it?
Let the X Games begin.
You're just a little embarrassed that Richard kicked your ass.
There's a really big gap between getting your ass kicked and having a dancing, singing sprite fool you with trickery and then strike your throat.
The Breakup. This film is not yet rated. In theaters Friday, June 2nd.
Today is Cinco de Mayo, so we thought it'd be fun to have a little party. Bryant's going to go first. Okay, that's not a problem. last week we switched to FedEx Kinko's for all our office needs. Of course, that'll do it for the party.
FedEx Kinko's. Make it, print it, pack it, ship it.
Welcome to the playoffs.
1,503 assists. 464 three-pointers. 936 fast break points.
Beautifully done. Jefferson.
493 steals.
Stolen.
They picked it up defensively.
So many fantastic finishes.
What a shot. LeBron does it again.
And that was only round one.
From Studio J, the TNT Arena in Atlanta, it is Inside the NBA presented by Hyundai. Ernie Johnson, the Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Hall of Famer Charles Barkley on the other end. The Mavs have evened up the series 113-91 in Game 2 in San Antonio. And joining us live as we begin Inside the NBA is Dirk Nowitzki, who had 21 points, 9 rebounds on 7 of 11 shooting tonight. Dirk, in your estimation, number one, congratulations on the victory, but in your estimation, the reason you tied this series tonight was blank. What was it?
Well, I thought we pushed the pace up to where we wanted. I think if the game's in the 70s and the 80s, I think that's more what the Spurs like. I think if you play against a set defense, they're so good and one of the best in the league. So we wanted to push the pace. We got some great athletes in the open court that can make some plays, and it was great. Our defense was a lot better today, I thought, and so we look forward to Saturday.
Hey, Dirk, this is Magic. I've always said that you guys had the talent, you got the superstar in yourself, and you got the coach now. Only thing I thought was missing was the mental toughness. Do you feel you have that now to really go in and win Game 3 and also to win this series?
I think so. I think we arrived. I think we learned a lot from last year. We had a very disappointing playoff run last year. We're going down against Houston 0-2 and fighting back, and then against Phoenix, I thought we didn't really play our best basketball, and it was a frustrating summer for all of us to sit on that loss. And I think we came back a lot stronger, with Avery. Had a great training camp in October and really established a defensive mentality in our team. And I think we're ready. I think this is the best shot we had in years since I've been a Maverick. So we're looking forward to a lot more.
Dirk, what's the difference under Don Nelson as coach as far as difference with Avery Johnson? What's the number one thing you think Avery's brought to you guys' team?
Like you said, toughness. I mean, he was one of the toughest players. He was never the most skilled player. I keep telling him that too. But his toughness. I mean, the way he played, and he's undersized, but he played in the league for 15, 16 years, and the way he was as a player, he's as a coach. He demands a lot from us. He gets the best out of his players on both ends of the floor, and he brought a great chemistry to the team, and it's been fun to play for him. And like I said, he can be very, very tough on you, but it's nothing personal, and he's just trying to get the best out of us.
Dirk, this is Kenny. You said that this is your best shot to possibly win it all. So if that means you guys really believe you can win it all, that means there's a chink in the armor of the San Antonio Spurs. And why do you believe, and what is that rust in the armor to say that the champs will no longer be the champs?
Well, we're trying to approach the games different these days. We're trying to approach it with defense first. And, we were a fun team over the last couple of years, fun to watch and up and down. And but I think once you want to win in the playoffs, you got to be tough defensively. You got to rebound. You got to execute an offensive end. And I think that's why we have the style we're playing right now suits the playoffs a lot better than we did over the last six, 7 years that I've been here. So I think we saw it over the regular season. We're capable of beating anybody at home or on the road, and it should be a fun series.
Dirk, I'm going to give you a chance to explain a quote that we read and that we discussed here at halftime tonight. You were saying that you didn't think you would average 30 to 35 in this series. Where were you going with that exactly? What did you mean? Because we were kind of surprised that as the go-to guy on that team, you would put a limit on yourself going into this series.
Well, I didn't really put a limit on myself, but I knew how they guard me, that they don't give me any space. You know, even on the pick and roll, they're not even leaving me. So I think this is more the series where I got to play an all-around game. I got to rebound the ball, got to be efficient offensively when I take my shot, take good shots when they're there. If not, going to move it. Try to make my teammates better, set some picks. And, you know, we saw tonight they weren't leaving me, and our point guards were walking in down the lane and shooting some layups. So, you know, that's what I meant is my teammate. We have to, you know, attack from all angles more than anything. We you know, if you want to beat the best, you got to play well as a team. And I thought, you know, in game one, we didn't play well enough as a team. You know, the champs are not going to give it to you. You got to go out and take it. And I think that's what we did tonight.
I want to know, I would go to Europe a lot, and like you're the hot throb in Germany and in Dallas. So how are you handling all that?
Well, you know, it got a bit much over the last couple of years. You know, once I started, you know, nobody really knew me anywhere, even at home. But once I got bigger and German basketball got better and better, and you know, sometimes it can be a little hard, especially my personality is not the type that loves all the hype all the time. So once in a while it's great, but you know, I'd love to escape it once in a while. And that's why I go home to Germany in the summer and spend some time with my family and just enjoy the time over there and see my friends. So it got a little much over the years, but it's still fun.
Hey, Dirk, when I discovered you in Germany before you got to the NBA, and I said,
I dunked on you?
Hey, that's right. And I said, young fella, I'll give you any amount of money you want to go to Auburn. Do you regret turning me down?
Not at all. But it depends on how much money was on the line. No, I think, obviously, you know, I think college would have been great for me too, but, you know, I made the decision to go to league early, and it was tough for me at the beginning, my first 2 years, you know, with the amount of games and the traveling. You know, it took me a while to get adjusted, but once I did, you know, it was fun. I had great teammates, so it was a fun 8-9 years so far, and I'm looking forward for a couple more.
Dirk Nowitzki, congratulations on your win in Game 2. Good luck the rest of the way, heartthrob.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Charles, I saw you on the dive yesterday for 30 seconds. That wasn't it.
He's going back today. We got him going back. Dirk's not going back. He's coming back today, man. He's got to go back.
Hey, you know what's funny?
Now it's called the dive.
I took a Nike All-Star team over to Germany when Dirk before he even got to the NBA. And I had some great players on the team. And he had 50. And I said, how old are you? He said, I'm like 19. I said, I'll give you any amount of money you want to go to Auburn. And I was 100%.
Is that legal?
Man, we in the SEC. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
All right, Avery Johnson.
Now we got Alabama, Georgia, Florida. We got crooks all over the South.
Avery Johnson.
NCAA. Can you spell that?
We're not 20 points better than the Spurs. They're the champions. They're still the champions. One win by a team in the Western Conference semifinals doesn't mean that anything has been taken away from them. We just want to grind it out this series. So we had some key contributors. Obviously, Josh had a game for us. Stack has been pretty consistent. You know, Marquise even helped us tonight. So we just had a little bit better flow tonight. I thought we were timing was off in the first game, and we seem to have a little bit better timing tonight. But I know they're not going to play like this in Game 3.
And how about the button that Avery Johnson pushed with Devin Harris in the starting lineup, Magic, running the show?
It was a great button to push because now you got two ball-handling guards. Either one of them get it on the fast break, they can push it up. And what I liked tonight was they didn't settle for jump shots. They actually took the ball to the basket. Bless Kenny as he sneezed. And they
Magic.
Oh, no, look, bam. I caught it, too. But they took it to the basket tonight, and they scored. And you know what they had tonight, Ernie? A mean streak. A mean streak tonight that I hadn't seen from Dallas in the last couple of years. They really played physical, they played mentally tough, and they really took on the personality of Avery Johnson tonight.
Took it to San Antonio in there, Jeff.
And I got to give them credit also for the simple fact they could have been depressed after game one. They played well, and they showed no ill effect. Sometimes a team, when you lose a heartbreak on the road, especially they're still basically a young team, I was very impressed. They came out the gate like gangbusters.
You know what's funny, Ernie, is the fact that...
Pictures of you?
Not that too. But
Adrian Griffin, taking him out the starting lineup, Magic, he can always be reinserted back into the game and get into the flow because he's a defensive player. He's not like he's going to lose his offense and lose confidence in his jump shot because he doesn't take jump shots. So it wasn't as big a risk putting Devin in because it really didn't take anything away from from Adrian Griffin if you needed him.
113-91 the final, and thanks, Kenny.
God bless.
Greg Popovich live at the podium.
Could be. I haven't timed him.
Talk about Tim Duncan. Another good night. The rest of the guys couldn't get involved.
Yeah, I mean, Timmy was great. I mean, he's playing Tim Duncan playoff basketball, and unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of help tonight. But that was because of the way Dallas played. I thought their defense was excellent. I thought they were great.
The fans really got on Steve Javie tonight. Did you have a problem at all either with the specifics of the way the game was officiated or maybe with the tone that was set with the early technical fouls?
No, not at all. No, it had nothing to do with tonight. Everything tonight had to do with the way the Mavs played, without a doubt.
So Greg Popovich and the Spurs in a 1-1 deadlock now as that series moves to Dallas for Game 3 on Saturday. We'll have Game 4, by the way, Monday on TNT. When we come back, the Detroit Pistons. It's 2-0 now.
That should be the main game.
Over LeBron and the Cavs.